line screaming like a siren at night. Red and blue shouting, nobody's right. Smoke in the streets, truth under attack. Everybody's loud, nobody's got facts. Feeds keep scrolling, nerves stay tight. Matchsticks flicked in the dead of night. They sell fear, cheap package the lies, while the clock keeps ticking, empires on fire. Can't sit quiet while the world's on edge. Lines in the sand, standing on the ledge. No script, no leash, no polish, quiet. Just a voice in the dark and a spark to the wire. This is and I'll bring the fire. Gonna let lies while the clock, no filter, no fear. I say it raw, strike the match, let it burn through the fog. This is and I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. Everybody's selling truth like a brand, buying opinions they don't understand. Talking in circles, screaming online. Keyboard courage, borrowed spines. Yeah, power plays dressed up as peace. Same old wolves with different teeth. But silence is loud when the house is burning, and the fuse is short, yeah, it's still learning. I don't dance for the left or the right. I stand in the heat, I stand in the fight. No strings, no chains, no manufactured choir. Just gasoline thoughts and an open lighter. This is and I'll bring the fire. Gonna light it higher. No filter, no fear, I say it raw. Strike the match, let it burn through the fog. This is and I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. World's on tilt, pressure climbing. Truth don't whisper, it's perfect timing. You can't cancel the smoke, you can't stop flame. Say my name when it hits, say my name. Why? Say my name. Say my name. Fire don't ask permission. Fire don't need a side. Fire just shows up honest and exposes the lie. This is and I'll bring the fire. Truth is harder. Burn it down till what's real survives. No smoke, no mirrors, just heat and lies. And I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. American fire. Strike it. Let it speak.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm back. Yeah, buddy. Back from Texas. Back from a quick weekend away. Hope you are well today. Good to be here. Missed you guys. Sorry a couple minutes late because, had to do some work to get it all back in order because of, travel complications. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're ready for a monster week. What a show I have for you today. So much to go over, catch up on. Wowers. I gotta tell you, we have to break down the documents that Trump released on Thursday night. I have not been able to talk about those yet. So much to go through there. We got all kinds going on with this Rubio attack on leftist violence, midterm updates, Grifta report, of course. I wasn't going to leave you hanging with that. All that's going on with Iran and much more. So folks, hit that like, hit that subscribe. We are going to get into it today, but I want to start with just a couple thoughts on my time in Texas. So for those who don't know, last week I was gone. I didn't do my regular show Thursday. I just did a response video to Trump's speech, but then a quick response because I didn't have time to process it very much. But also Friday I was gone. So for those who have wondered where I've been, I went to Texas for my grandfather's 95th birthday, and it was well worth it. I'm glad I went. He is doing well, by the way, guys. And those are my genes, baby. 95 years old, still lives on his own, drives himself, takes care of himself. Amazing man. So that was inspiring. But what I want to talk about is that I hung out with a bunch of old friends, and we all got together. Some people in this crowd dropped us some amazing whiskey, so thank you for that, friend. But we hung out, and here's what I want to say, that the thing that shocked me is that my many of my friends who used to be pretty well versed, who pay attention, or at least used to, they had bought into the psyops. They were not, they were very, what's the word I'm looking for? Black-pilled. And this surprised me. My friends in the past usually were not like this, but that told me how bad it's gotten. Now, I could wag my finger at them for not watching my show, but you know how it is. Sometimes you're so close to the situation. My wife doesn't watch my show either, just being honest with you guys. But and so we had a lot of talks over beers, over poker, about what's going on, and they had no idea half the things that are actually going on. And it kind of blew my mind, because again, these are people I'd known closely for years. We'd had several conversations over the last 10-15 years about politics, and for me to see them after a couple years, have these discussions with them, it made me even realize just how much more effective and pervasive the media lies, the grifter lies have been. And it did tell me that there has been some success. If you're not following very closely, there has been some success from people like Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens and the lies they're spreading. So made me just want to double down even more. But I will tell you, after talking to these people, we have the better argument. We have the better argument. Once you show them the truth, once you show them what's going on, what they're missing, what's being held back from them, they start turning quickly, and they start waking up, because these are good people. They want to believe where we're headed is a good direction. They want to believe Trump's doing the right things. They just had been caught in the ecosphere of the black pill bubble, and it had been affecting them. So that kind of woke me up a little bit, just to how crazy it was. So anyways, so we're doubling down. We're going to go even harder and do an even better job of breaking narratives, so that this doesn't happen to as many people as possible. All right. That's just what I wanted to start with today. Again, these are smart people who have been psyoped. So no one's immune. You have to stay on top of it, because if you're not, the psyops can be very powerful. All right, friends, let me say hey to some peeps here in the Chizat, and then we're going to get right into it. Let's start with the Rums. We got Don Julio over there on Rumble, Pixel Snap holding it down over here on the YouTubes. We got Nick Majors, MFN Tango, Shogun, my DEI hire, Aiden Scotland, Jeffrey Ross, Pat M, Rafe, Marco Sanchez, Saved by Grace, Threads, Dog, Carnivore for Life, Eric Brumbog, Sebastian Chose, Henry Perez, Ramona, Keith Torgensen, Smokehouse, The One, What to Do, Jim Atkins, Genix Maga, Scott Falkovich, Golden Code, DJ Fusion, David Davis, Tammy Anderson, Debot Todd, K. Shuey, Build Fire for Christ, Adrian Pantel, Dong Schlong. That makes me laugh. One of the many, Daniel Palmquist, Reef Keepa, and so many more. Welcome, guys, to the show. Thanks for watching. Wish I could get to all of you, but we'd be here all day. So, Rum Dog asked, did I have my theme song ready when I dropped the truth on them? Yes, I told them, I said, hey, hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm about to say something. And then I flipped the theme song on. I said, now you got to wait 3 minutes, and then we'll talk. I love it. Mark R says, half my friends are also clueless. They listen too much of the media, think it's true. It's very sad. It's very sad. We got Johnny Hinojosa with a $2 super chat, says Trump's doing an exorcism to the country. That is definitely one way to look at it. I completely Agree with you. Thank you, American Dreamer, for the membership. All right, guys, just we're going to get started here, but listen, you guys are welcome in the chat. We build this community. This is a community-oriented show. I do stop to answer your questions in between segments as much as I can. Respond to your comments. Disagreements are welcome. If you're not a troll, if you're a troll, you get booted. That means be respectful, be honorable, and no spamming the chat with hate. Kevin Copperland with a $5 super chat. This is Kevin Huffman. What's up, Kevin? Is it new account? I like it. Well, good to see you, brother. So as always, guys, if you want to support the show, you can send a super chat, get a guaranteed read or question answered. And if you want to support as a membership, there's a link in the description for a free month to the membership. Go ahead and give it a try. Give it a try, see what you think. This is a viewer-supported show. All right. Love you guys. Appreciate you. We are going to get into it. Thank you again for another membership, American Dreamer. Bringing people into the YouTube membership. I appreciate that. You guys now have access to the members-only live shows. All right. With all that said, we have a lot to get to. So we have got to get moving. All righty. So, last Thursday, Trump dropped a banger of a speech. And of course, you know it was a banger because several media companies refused to air it. And it was followed by a massive all-out psyop that was nothing happened. Trump did nothing. Yep. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. That's what they do because they are terrified this information will get out there in a way that people will not be able to dismiss anymore. And that, my friends, is exactly what Trump did. So Trump on Thursday talked about the election rigging and he dropped receipts. Already, I've seen many people be like, guys, nothing happened. We already knew all this. Fine. We did. Those paying attention knew. This was not for us. This is for the normies, the people who haven't been paying attention, the people who have dismissed it. And it was also a shot to the deep state, City of London, the Democrats to say, we have it all. We have it all, and you're going down. Catherine Herridge reported after this speech on Thursday, tonight, POTUS is declassifying records about the Chinese community parties. She means Communist Party, autocorrect. Multi-domain influence operations in 2020. The CCP used all elements of government power, trade, diplomacy, social media, open source reporting to undermine his re-election. President Trump called us the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's acquisition of 200 million voter files. Note, CCP could use this data for multiple purposes: voter fraud, identity theft, and to target Americans for recruitment. Not only that, it was revealed they got many soldiers' voter registrations, which means they would have found the locations of several bases across the world that we have that may not have been public record. President Trump said the Chinese influence operations intentionally suppressed by elements of the U.S. intelligence community withheld from him. In April, she reported on the whistleblower complaint. It's central to the Chinese election influence and meddling allegations. For speaking up about the bias, suppression of intelligence whistleblowers severely retaliate against. There's an opportunity now to make it right for them and their family. Guys, we've known this stuff's coming for a long time. It's interesting, as I said on Thursday, that Trump focused on the Chinese part of it. Well, how do you wake up the people first and foremost? You feed them the big bad guy. You show them the most obvious source that the American people will accept. This is why, if he mentions the globalists, the European Union, the City of London, most people are going to say, huh? Or no way, because we're in a waking up process. But you say China, and then you drop stuff down, that wakes up a whole lot of people. And what's in these documents so far is fascinating. Here's a portion. Disconnecting the dots. Chinese multi-domain influence operation was suppressed by striking references to the 2020 election, massaging intelligence reports for the president. On Friday, November 20th, just a couple weeks after the election, we have deliberately massaged our one pending President's Daily Brief to avoid any direct links to the election. The intelligence community withholding all sorts of info from the president. This is treasonous, especially if you've linked the foreign actor to it. See, what Trump's speech is meant to accomplish is not to trash China, although that's part of it. But you notice Trump isn't like calling for sanctions on China all of a sudden. No, what he's actually doing, what's really coming out of this, is the exposure of the intelligence community and deep state against him, against American interests, how they are willing to lie and cheat and subvert and cover stuff up in order to keep him, or in order to get their way done. That's the bigger deal out of this, and that's what Trump is actually pointing to. China itself, well, we'll get to China more in a few minutes here. China has been a rival of ours. They are an adversary in many ways. I believe that's shifting, not that they won't continue to be rivals or competitors with us, but I do believe that what Trump is doing is forcing China, Russia, and other countries that want to be sovereign, left alone, who have been hurt by the UK, European Union, the globalist system over the years. Remember China, the Opium Wars, that was all UK afflicted. This goes centuries back for many of these countries. What I believe is Trump is working on getting them all to agree, if we defeat this, and then we can make peace as sovereign nations working with each other and get out of this. But before that, when we were subverted and infiltrated and controlled by a deep state, by the globalists for several decades, China was treating us like an all-out enemy. And this is where all this happened. It happened under that umbrella, under that timing. And it doesn't mean China's good. It doesn't mean they're going to be good. But it does mean we can enter into a new relationship with them now. And that's the way Trump's treating them. I believe that's where we're headed. Now, the CIA confirms China had a multi-year plan to stop Trump from being reelected in 2020. Well, this makes all kinds of sense. If you're China and you see Trump coming in and you've kind of had the setup where we've infiltrated their government, we're messing with them, they are a part of this globalist system, the U.S. is, Trump's just being harder on us. Of course you wouldn't want him reelected. Also, well, again, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but there might actually be competing factions within China. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But this is a CIA note summarizing sensitive intelligence from 2018 to 2020 on China's activities. China's goal was for Trump not to be reelected. They viewed the uncertainty of his administration as a problem. Isn't that interesting? The uncertainty of his administration is a problem. In other words, we know how to deal with Obama. We know how to deal with Clinton and Bush. We don't know how to deal with this guy. Starting in mid-2018, China actively worked to reduce Trump's votes and prevent his re-election by leveraging opponents and targeting key sectors. They analyzed the 2016 election results, identified Trump-supporting states, and used tariffs on those sectors to create economic pain, hoping it would pressure those sectors to lobby Trump. China ran influence operations by paying U.S. think tank experts. Oh, I wonder who that could be. Cato Institute, Bloomberg, all the lefty or libertarian-leaning think tanks that went all out against Trump. Academics and former officials, large speaking fees and trips to get them hooked on China and push Trump on tariffs. That's interesting. That's interesting. By mid-2019, China specifically targeted political swing states as crucial for the 2020 election. This internal CIA document directly contradicts the Public 21 assessment that China did not try to influence the 2020 election outcome. So our deep state was working to cover up China's links to this while the Democrats are running freely, winning elections. That's interesting. That's very interesting. It shows China had a deliberate ongoing strategy to undermine Trump's reelection, and bad actors within our own government conspired with China to cover it up. absolutely insane. The NSA admits we deliberately massage intel. In the email chain, we've deliberately massaged our one pending PDB to avoid links. They also chopped up a big report into 13 smaller ones and downgraded them. So the China election connection would be harder to include in the 45-day assessment. The National Intelligence Officer for Cyber pushed back, saying the IC has been deliberately avoiding any mention of China in elections for months. Not because of weak evidence, but for non-substantive reasons, shows clear evidence parts of the intel community was actively conspiring against President Trump with a foreign adversary. This is literally treason. Here's the emails. I just, anybody who thinks somebody is not like, that any of that, there's nothing here, that this was a nothing burger is insane. It's insane. Because for all intensive purposes, all the things we've known in the past and all those of us who believe 2020 was completely rigged, folks, I got to tell you that we didn't have the documents. We didn't have the CIA on record, the NSA on record, the FBI on record admitting to covering it up. This is a big shift. As Colonel Watkins writes, so General Paul Nakasone, NSA, was deliberately trying to steal John Ratcliffe, the DNI, away from China interference, while his buddy Malay is telling China he will warn him if Trump catches on to China and try to do anything about it. Oh, man. This is damning evidence of our deep state, of a coup against our very own president. Where does all this start, folks? Why? Ask yourself this. Our deep state, which is easily traced back to MI6, to City of London globalist systems. How do we know that? Well, who created Russia? Five Eyes, right? UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the US, our intelligence agencies working together to paint the picture of Russia making Trump president. That's all Five Eyes. And then now deliberately covering up that China was a part of it. This thing goes so much deeper than you think. It gets crazier and crazier the deeper we go. This clearly shows the camp of the FBI and CIA was to lie about China's role in the DNI, and NSA folks didn't agree. What's most disturbing about this use of the words political capital in context of intelligence effects was deeply disturbing. This guy right here said, I'm not going to bring it up because I've already wasted political capital using or trying to get this across. So in other words, I'm not going to do the right thing anymore because I'm tired of doing it. This is wild. FBI, CIA, DNI, NSA all together. Absolutely insane. What have they found so far? 250,000 foreign voters by DHS from just 4 states. That means times this by 10, 11, you can get up to 2.5 to 3 million foreign voters. Folks, that swings elections. That swings presidential elections. That swings several House seats, senators. That is more than enough to do so. I've been hearing people saying, well, what about how many of them voted? You can't, why don't they tell us that? What a deflection. The fact they're registered alone is horrifying. That is insane. From just 4 states. Folks, the problem of election integrity, we knew it was bad. We're finding out it's worse than we thought. And we have the receipts now. I'm telling you, things are shifting. This is a big deal. We have FBI official Nikki Flores recorded as saying here in the documents, I'm basically running a shadow government across the FBI. Oh, man. Absolutely unbelievable. So the internal emails reveal officials fought to downplay China warning. One official pushes back. They propose, we assess China prefers the president does not win re-election. They want to add that Beijing was using lobbying, economic pressure, cyber exploitation, and rhetoric to shape the U.S. political environment. Final language made it into a report. China probably decided the risk of getting caught outweighed potential gains. So they covered it up with this. Oh, China backed off because it wasn't worth it. But here's where it gets even crazier. China is BLM. BLM is China. China planned to incite the racial unrest and blame white people hating black people to sabotage Trump. China extensive plans to use influence in cyber operations to turn public opinion against Trump. Targeted racial tension. So they took what Obama and the Democrats had started over years, building up the racial tensions in here. And China stoked the flames. I'm telling you right now, there is no way this happened without the Democrats being on board with it. And since this happened during the Trump administration, several Republican deep staters, establishment types also being a part of it. Guys, this is nuts. This is nuts. They targeted racial tensions playing to allege that white people hate black people, incite demonstrations and marches to highlight racial divides, increase conflict between police and anti-racism activists. That's a lot of the writers right there. Remember, we caught Soros funding them. A lot of that money is coming from China. Was Soros maybe laundering some of the money from China? I don't know. It's possible. We know the SPLC was doing this. Create the impression U.S. law enforcement resents the government and people of color. Other themes included political party fights, Congress versus Trump conflicts. Oh, like right now? John Thune, anyone? Senator Cornyn, anyone? Tillis? Murkowski? All these Republicans turning against Trump? Using women's rights and alleged U.S. war plans. Oh, there it is. Make it look like Trump's the warmonger, like Bush. This is insane, and it tells us how good the Chinese are at understanding our country. This is typical color revolution stuff that you do as intel agencies, as CIA has done, MI6 has done to other countries. They were doing it to us, using our own politics against us. This is insane stuff, folks. China had the ability to spread these messages across social media using TikTok, number one. In fact, they gathered all sorts of data from TikTok for this. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Notice how all these, Elon bought X, now Twitter, now X. YouTube is now pretty free overall since Trump came back in. Facebook, completely different. One option included gathering dirt on senior U.S. officials. This document shows China was actively planning to weaponize racial division. Act of war. Here it is. Here's another document. Newly declassified documents reveal China planned to stoke gun violence fears and immigration chaos to damage Trump. How much of all of this, folks, has always been PSYOP? Whether it's China, like I said before, the focus here, China is a big part of it, especially in this instance. But do not ignore, do not forget the fact that it's our intelligence agencies who allowed this to happen. It is our intelligence agencies partnered with MI6, partnered with the Five Eyes, with the City of London that allowed Russiagate to happen. They were all working to stop Trump. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Let's talk about what Tulsi parted for us. Rasmussen Report says more on Tulsi's parting gifts. We know for sure our foreign adversaries have parts or vital pieces of our voting machines. We know that they can access what they consider the key to the back of these machines. They can remote into U.S. election systems during our elections with the ability to change voter registrations and change votes. Again, did we know this? Many of us did. Did the American people believe it? Without documentation, the answer to many of that, for many of them, is no. They did not. but now we have it. This is why do not believe the psyop going around that this is nothing because we already knew it. Trump didn't accomplish anything. Folks, the documented proof changes everything. The admittance of our own intelligence agents in these documents changes everything. But you got to know what you're talking about to do that. I watched several and listened to several news programs this past weekend. Very few of them were digging into this. Very few. Most of them barely touched it. Even Fox News refused to deep dive it. Why? Because they're all in it together, and this they know is dangerous to them. Here's Hillary Clinton in her own words talking about this China. I mean, think about what this could be.
You know, the only other adversary of ours who's anywhere near as good as the Russians is China. So why should Russia have all the fun? And since Russia is clearly backing Republicans, why don't we ask China to back us?
I hereby tonight ask China.
That's right. And not only that, China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? I'm sure our media would richly reward you. You know,
what? Was Hillary giving us a little clue as to what was coming? This is wild. This is before the 2020 election. That's pretty crazy. Russia's helping Republicans. China's helping them. How about you help, folks? One more time.
Russia is clearly backing Republicans. Why don't we ask China to back us?
I hereby tonight ask China.
That's right. And not only that, China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? I'm sure our media would richly reward you. You know,
absolutely insane. You know, they do tell us what they do all the time. It's just like last week when Slotkin, you know, the CIA agent who is now the Democrat senator from Michigan, when Slotkin came out and said, if they pass the Save America Act, Democrats will not win any more elections. Oh, yeah, she said the quiet part out loud. Why would that be? Voter ID? Why would that make it so you guys couldn't win elections? You know, they're always telling us. It's just that they do it in a way that they don't think you're listening. They like to act as if it's fun and games or what they're saying doesn't matter. Now, look what's going on in China right now. Trump went over to China in in May. And since then, President Xi has doing a massive anti-corruption purge similar to what Saudi Arabia did in 2017. Oops. Over the past 2 months, Xi has been purging corrupt government and military officials. What's going on? And he says, I'm starting to think Xi gave Trump the goods on election fraud in 2020. Is it possible? Is it possible China has its own deep state going on? I don't know. We get very few, you know, it's very hard to trust what's coming out of China. So I'm not pretending that I can guarantee this is 100% accurate. But it's very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. Trump has kept China close while also being hard on them. Same with Russia. And this all plays into the idea that Trump is treating China as if they want to be sovereign and giving them real opportunities to be a different country on the world scene, and same with Russia, while continually breaking every bit of globalist Eurozone, City of London influence across the globe, choking them out. Is this more of that going on? I don't know, but we're going to be watching this closely. On Thursday, this is who blacked it out. CNN, ABC, CBS, and NBC completely blacked it out. You see CIA. Isn't that fun? Kind of tells you what they're worried about. Why, this is a presidential address. See, if they think it's a big deal, guys, and by this, I mean blocking it out. See, censorship is one of their main tools. if they're censoring it, why are other people saying it's not a big deal? That's the kind of thing that just kind of blows my mind. And you know what Trump did during that? He mentioned the broadcast licenses and the collusion between China and many people in the media. Is it possible we're getting ready to see something similar to Lincoln? The executive order, the arrest and imprisonment of irresponsible newspaper reporters and editors. Are we headed in that direction? I think Trump might get there. But again, Trump wants to do everything in a way that preserves our systems because he loves our Constitution. He loves the way our country was set up. So he is going to do everything possible to preserve them before having to go down this road. But we'll see. Now, the day after Trump spoke, Markwayne Mullin came out to tell us some of the things that they're starting to do in order to protect the midterm elections. Here's Markwayne Mullin.
Our security team and CISA will release an updated election infrastructure plan, and it'll be public within 30 days, meaning that will give the states the resources they need to help from the cyber side. From us, if they participate in the SAVE program, we'll provide the resources and training to support state election integrity. We're not trying to change the outcome. We're trying to make sure that American people can trust our voting system. Real ID does not prove citizenship and does not give you the right to vote. You must be a U.S. citizen and you must be eligible to vote. Before and after the election, we will scrub all election records looking for illegal aliens and those who are ineligible to vote, including those that somehow voted yet they were deceased. If you're illegal and attempted to vote, or you tried to vote illegally for someone else, we will find you and we will charge you. Illegal voter registration and illegal voting both carry penalties up to 5 years in prison and up to $250,000 in fines. We will pursue maximum pressure on this. To let you know, we will be proactively looking at early voting, and then after post-election, we will continue to scrub all those that did vote. Those states that don't participate with us, they have public records of those that voted, which is where we found the 250,000 from the 4 states that don't participate with us. We will go through those records one by one, and we will pursue everybody.
Whoa. This is a big deal. He just put out on blast even the states that are trying to withhold stuff, thinking they'll get away with it. But here's the deal. Once you vote, you do have to have a record behind it. Isn't that fascinating? Markwayne Mullin just put out there is that the DHS, which by the way is fully funded now through 2029, thanks to the Democrat shutdown that puts the Republicans to fund it for the next 4 years, they will be partnering with Trump's FBI, going through all voting, including proactively early voting, going after it. You know what this does, folks? This accomplishes a lot because now, whether or not they could do it all, that's not what matters the most here. What matters the most is how many people who have been illegally voting, regular people. We've seen the videos of people getting caught in Texas, the woman registering people illegally, forcing votes, the ballot harvesters. These are regular people just getting a little extra money here and there for what they're doing. Do you think those regular people, now that they know the government's actively hunting for them, you think they're all going to keep doing it? No. Many will stop. Many are going to say, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. This is going to slow down the fraud. Just putting it out there, just trying to go after them changes things. Doesn't fix it all, but it does slow it down. It does limit it, because before there were no consequences. You could get away with it easy. The Biden administration, they weren't going to do anything. You get Biden in, you win. But the Trump administration already going after him. And by the way, for the midterms, they don't get rid of Trump. They don't get rid of the DHS. They don't get rid of FBI because they still got 2+ years left after the midterms. You have to weigh that risk. And that's what Mark Wayne Wallen put out there. This is part of their plan to open up the doors to A, get arrests that we all want to see, but B, totally discourage them from going all in the way they have in the past. See, the politicians don't care if the regular people get put in prison, get fined, but those people care. Many of them do. You know, it's the difference between if you know you're going to get a slap on the wrist from robbing a store in California where you can rob up to $900 without getting charged, without going to jail, versus in Oklahoma, you rob $5, you're going to jail. So what happens? There's a whole lot less robbery in Oklahoma. The federal government has now said they will go after everybody, including the states trying to hide it. That's a big deal. Now, a couple great thoughts on the fallout of this. Here's Colonel Watkins, and I believe she breaks this down very well here. She says, having listened to Trump's speech, none of the people who've been on the journey of uncovering the CIA and their nefarious activities were surprised by anything he said. That is all true. And that's why some people were blackpilling over the speech. There's nothing new. Again, it's not for you. But she's pointing out these. One, the documents Trump declassified will expedite everything happening in grand juries in Fort Pierce because the fact they were classified draws out the timeline exponentially. That's not a small thing. Grand juries expedited. That's very good. Number two, he mentioned the intel agencies, journalists, large U.S. corporations, unions, etc. were all involved with the U.S. government in China as early as 2018, interfering in elections, creating negative stories and undermining Trump. That is treason. Oh, yeah. He dropped Obama's name. Uh-oh. He likes to do that. He's done that several times. He confirmed that everyone involved in challenging the 2020 election showed up in D.C. on January 6th were all right. Everyone who challenged it were right. He noted the FBI, DHS, CIA, and other government agencies worked to coup the country. They systematically, overtly, and consistently worked to hide critical intelligence from the president. That is treason. Number 7, he noted the FBI put critical intel and proof of election interference in burn bags to destroy the evidence. Oh, yeah, and then he mentioned they're going to go prosecute those people. 8, he noted the CIA sat on information confirming election systems were compromised, overtly hid it. 9, he noted the ongoing cover-up of the criminal conspiracy to overthrow the government. It's being hidden by NBC and ABC. 10, by notifying state governments their election data is compromised, he will force them to take action or they'll be guilty of conducting known fraudulent elections. Yes, he set the stage for the possibility of declaring a national emergency for the elections. This is all part, he's building the case. This is how you have to do it. 11, the FBI discovered China was manufacturing ballots for Biden and covered it up. 12, CIA is required to inform Congress and they didn't, and instead signed documents stating it was the most secure election in history. Uh-oh. That's outright perjury, lying. That's insane. And then 13, over 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in the U.S. in 4 states. She says, while many people will say what they knew this already, this wasn't for those who knew this. It was to ensure legal system can use declassified documents to expedite what will begin to occur tomorrow, accountability. We've entered into the new phase, guys. It will provide the impetus to make drastic changes to the election process in the U.S. and now publicly forces Congress to act. My caution, this requires the same organizations, DHS, CIA, FBI, that committed treason to launch investigations of their own organizations, which from my experience never works. In my opinion, we've moved to another phase of the operation. Speed will increase exponentially. I agree with everything she said there. Brian Cates says as well, everything now changed with this declass. I'm pretty sure the major network knew what was coming, which is why they refused to cover it. It hits different when it comes from the tippy top. Trump. I see a lot of people saying, well, we knew this already. It doesn't mean anything, but it hits different when it's the president and the FBI and the DOJ and the CIA and DHS agreeing with you. That is huge. That is absolutely massive. Here's a nice little takedown of it. to better describe what we just saw. Trump didn't give a speech about one bad ballot, one machine. He laid out an entire election attack surface. He covered every dimension. The foreign layer, China acquiring 220 million American voter records, including names, addresses, phone numbers, party preferences, and registration data, while Intel reporting described a dedicated operation to exploit it, an internal effort to keep the true scale buried. Cyber layer, assessments spanning years, warning Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and other actors have the capability to target election infrastructure. The machine layer, intelligence describing digital methods developed by Venezuela's Maduro regime to alter vote totals in ways designed to survive an audit. The registration layer, FBI files describe a Michigan operation where canvassers admitted signing applications in other people's names. Registering fake people and receiving gift cards based on production. While investigators reportedly believe crimes that occurred in this case was allowed to sit for years, no longer it's out in the open. The identity layer, DHS review identifying approximately 278,000 non-citizens registered, while several states refused to provide complete voter rolls. Registration does not automatically mean a ballot was cast, yet every illegal registration leaves another door inside the system. The ballot layer, he says the institutional layer, that was the real message tonight. This was never about proving one narrow pathway through 2020. Trump built a national security case around it: foreign intelligence, cybersecurity, voter data, machines, registrations, identity, mail ballots, chain of custody, institutional suppression, and criminal accountability. And here's the actions. States are now being notified about the compromised voter information. DHS prepared to brief officials on electronic vulnerabilities. States are being pushed to remove ineligible registrations. Buried investigations are reopened, and Congress is being forced to confront voter ID and push the SAVE Act. We'll see what comes of this. But at the end here, he says, and I agree with this, the battlefield just shifted from scattered claims to federal documents, active remediation, legislative consequence. That, my friends, is true. And he says, watch who keeps fighting to leave the doors unlocked. It's an admission of guilt. Abso-freaking-lutely. And that's why, guys, this is why Thursday mattered. And why anybody blackpilling over what Trump did Thursday, anybody saying it's not a big deal, literally either has no idea what they're talking about, or they're psyoping you to stay blackpilled yourself and believe nothing's going to happen. As Seth Keshel says, the negativity on the right is astounding to me. We'd have lost the American Revolution if we had X back then, because Washington got his head smashed in for 4 years before he started winning. Here the president takes to the national stage after multiple executive orders are squashed in court. The Save America Act is still, and somehow that's bad too. Nothing will happen. Why bother following along if it makes you that upset? It's true. Why the blackpilling? Guys, what Trump pulled off on Thursday, it sets the stage going forward. Because now every time somebody criticizes the election fraud, says there's no evidence, we say, actually, look at all these documents. Here's CIA, here's FBI, here's NSA and DHS, here's official documents claiming it happened. Here's official numbers of illegals voting. Because if they're registered, you know some are going to vote. 278,000 in just 4 states. That would equal almost 4 million nationwide. Folks, we have evidence now, and I believe this is only the beginning. I believe Trump threw out the China aspect first because it's the easiest to swallow. Every American has no problem believing that China would have done this. Just as before Russiagate ruined it all, most Americans had no problem believing that Russia would have been in on something. You use what you can. This is a marketing ploy, but it's also real. And that's what's so perfect about it, what's so smart about it. You get real evidence, you show and tie it to the place that can be the most easily accepted. And from there, you get people going deeper, unwinding it. What does this mean? Oh my God, look, it leads to the intelligence agencies. Oh my God, it leads to the Democrats. It's not just China. You start somewhere, you get people believing it, you get people accepting it, and then you get more people looking into it. And also, you've now set a legal stage to get everything moving much quicker. So, folks, there's no black pilling allowed here. We're headed in a much better direction. Trump is setting the stage for several things to happen now before the midterms, which, by the way, are now only 3.5 months away. It's going to be harder and harder for the Democrats to steal the midterms based on everything Trump's pulled off, even with the Save America Act not passed. This administration is doing it. It is working hard. It is doing the things we voted for. It just doesn't always look the way we thought it would. And that's what happens when you have people in your own party fighting you, judges blocking you at every opportunity. You have to do things more secretive, more behind the scenes, and in a way that most people have to actually do work to figure it out. That's where we're at. But for those paying attention, I think it's pretty clear. This was a big effing deal. And going forward, I think we're going to see some amazing things come out of it. Okay, hit that like, hit that subscribe, guys. Let me get into the chat, catch up with anything I may have missed, and then we'll get on to much more in today's show. Ministry of Wrong Thing send a $2 super chat, says, well, sometimes I love being wrong. China. Thank you, sir, for the support. What were you wrong about? Would you grace us with that? Foundation Preacher with a $2 super chat says, only suspected before, but now proven. Huge. Exactly. I mean, this is proof of overwhelming voter fraud. It's just, what they're going to say is it's not proof because you don't actually have the tie to the votes yet. But come on, this is proof. The question is now just how much bigger is it really? Beef Rockin' More with a $10 super chat. Thank you for the support, sir. Says, what would martial law during a midterm election look like? Well, first of all, we should pray it doesn't come to that. That would be my first thing. Like, let's not get excited for martial law. That's not good. It just means that we're in a really ramped up stage to fix stuff and hope like we don't have to get to that point. What would it look like though? It would look like in all the most compromised areas, National Guard, military, watching things, overseeing the elections. That would be tough. It would probably slow elections down significantly, but yeah, I mean, we don't know because we haven't been there yet. But I could tell you, I was in Washington, D.C. for the 4th, and there was National Guard everywhere. And we still moved around. It was friendly. You felt safe because you knew you were one of the good guys. But at the same time, it was awkward. It was a little awkward feeling military everywhere. I'm sure that's kind of what it would be like. Chiosat with a $5 super chat says, could Xi also be a puppet of the deep state, City of London, like the leaders of other countries? I don't know. And, there's some things I speculate on and others I avoid speculating on. I can tell you this. I don't think President Xi or in China or any friends of the U.S. in any way, shape, or form. What I do think is whether or not Xi was being used, was in cahoots at times with City of London, I don't think he ultimately wants that. I think they always are looking out for China's interests no matter what, whether that means attacking us from the inside, infiltrating us, messing with our elections, messing with our economy, taking advantage of us, so on and so forth. China's always done what's best for China. And that might mean sometimes doing something that City of London loves. That might mean sometimes doing what we love. I don't know. What I can tell you is, to me, it's pretty clear that Trump senses that whether Xi was once City of London or not, that ultimately China wants to be China. And that's why Trump's willing to work with them. That's why Trump is willing to figure stuff out with them while also making sure they're not taking advantage of us anymore. So, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, honestly. Whether he was fully controlled, I can't say. But the City of London, the whole globalist system, it did not control the whole world, but it was impacting the whole world, if that makes sense. I don't necessarily think China was a proxy of City of London, but could they have been used by them in certain areas? Yeah, absolutely. So Yeah, and I'll be completely honest with you guys. I've been watching how Trump deals with China more than anything else, and how I make my decisions on where we're at with China, to see it through that lens. But at this point, it seems to me that Xi, everything China's doing is not helping City of London. Let me put it that way. Not anymore anyways. Iran was the big tell on that. They could have jumped into Iran. They could have made it much more difficult for us, and they backed off very quickly. Okay. So, Bedhead with a $5 super chat says, alert HR 9535 introduced by Glenn Thompson's backdoor amnesty. Yes, I was actually going to talk about that in an upcoming segment, but I will say this quickly, Mr. Bedhead, but thank you for the super chat. It is not going to go anywhere, but it is a sign there's several Republican traitors still in our midst. Okay, let me see if I missed any tags. Any other questions? I'm not seeing much. So, Dongschlanger says, fact, China was the instrument of globalists used to be a fall man. So funny and tragic at the same time. They've been getting done dirty by globalists for 100 years. Much longer than that. But yes, you're right. The globalists have treated China terribly for centuries. DJ says, you have to understand Trump's doing is crazy and looks crazy. Average voters don't understand what he's doing. Forgive your friends. But that's the thing. It's not if you actually go for the information. But yes, if you're just looking on the surface, I agree with you. So, okay. All right, guys, let's get into the next thing, because we have a lot going on. And immediately, and I mean immediately, the very next day after Trump gave his speech, Rubio gave a very important speech, and I want to dive into that in a second here. Oh, Ministry of Wrong Thing with a $5 super chat says, I speculated last week if Trump's Thursday speech was strategic bait and switch. I was definitely wrong. I gotcha. That's funny. Did I see Iran think Jordan for the information where to attack? No, I didn't. But I will say this, Razorback, can you trust anything that comes out of Iran? The answer is no. You can't trust anything that comes out of there. My thoughts on Mark Wayne. I thought he was pretty soft on speech. I disagree. I think the substance of the speech was good. I think Mark Wayne naturally, his voice and stuff just doesn't come across. He's not a super good speaker. So, but as I covered some of the substance in my last segment, some of that stuff was really important, like what he said, and it was strong. So I think the substance was good, whereas the delivery might not have been. So, okay. All right. Let's get into, this next part. Okay. Cause, this is, I think, a tell of where we're headed next. And the timing, as always, is not coincidence. So the very next day after Trump gave his election speech on Thursday, dropping the receipts on election fraud in America, backed up by the CIA, FBI, DHS, etc., the very next day, Marco Rubio came out to blast left-wing violence and terrorism. Listen to this.
Today we face a new wave of this old evil. Here in the United States, the share of left-wing terrorist attacks and plots has risen to levels not seen in decades. In Germany, far-left violence has jumped by more than 40% in just the last year alone. In Greece, more than 80% of radical violence is now driven by far-left and anarchist actors. These are not abstract statistics. Americans have seen what those numbers mean. An all-out assault on our immigration officers, sniper attacks, explosives, armed ambushes, a transgender shooter opening fire on Catholic elementary school students as they pray, his gun marked with slogans like, "Where is your God now?" A healthcare executive executed in cold blood in the streets. Multiple assassination attempts on a sitting president, and the murder of the greatest conservative activist of a generation, a man who happened to also be a husband and the father of 2 young children, shot and killed while speaking to a crowd of students. This is a distinctive and unique evil. It has always been driven by a hatred, above all else, a hatred for civilization itself.
Wow. Do you guys think any coincidence this comes right after the election speech? This is the things are ramping up. The Trump administration is gearing up. It is now all out war on these systems. You understand that the people are the product of these systems. They carry out the systems, the ideologies of this violence, this control, these power grabs, the fraud, the corruption. It's all the systems. And it all comes from the intel agencies, which come from the whole City of London globalist sphere system they created. It's financially backed by them. The intel agencies were created by them, sent out and trained these people, created the NGOs that funnel the money to them. It's all connected. Just as Trump just exposed that those very same intel agencies are foreign backed and controlled to steal from the people, even our election choices. This is no coincidence. This happened the next day. Not at all. Because this is signal. This is, we know who you are. We know what you do. We know how you do these things. We're calling it all out. We're bringing it to the forefront, and we're making it the official policy of this administration to take all this out. Notice, some of this has already been going on, but it is ramping up after a year and a half of Trump being in. Why did it take so long? Because we had to purge our systems. We had to purge our institutions. FBI, CIA, NSA, DHS, DOJ, all purged of deep staters. Pulte gets in, ODNI, 3 massive waves of firings. Trump telling him, fire them all. Get rid of it. After the Supreme Court backed up Trump being able to out these deep staters, which he wasn't able to do before. Timing is everything. Timing is a tell. This is the Trump administration coordinating all at once to go after this stuff. And one of the reasons why, well, because they're getting more outward and open, and so we are too. The commies are taking over the Democratic Party openly. And Trump's been calling it out. Spencer Pratt's been calling it out. And now Rubio in this speech continues to call it out.
It is the opposite. One of the criticisms you sometimes hear of communism, for example, is that it sounds good in theory, but it never works in practice. That's actually not true. Communism does not sound good in theory. The world it envisions for all of us is small, flat, gray, leveled of all exception, drained of all that is good and noble in the human soul. The world it envisions is a world without courage, a world without creativity or ambition, a world without heroes or glory or great causes to strive towards, a world without miracles, without myths, without men who rise above the rest to do incredible and extraordinary things. And the world communism envisions is a world without God. For these architects of revolutionary violence, the towering achievement of our civilization, for them, it's an unbearable humiliation, a reminder of what they cannot do, and a reminder of what they cannot be. So they choose instead to destroy. They attack pipelines.
This is brilliant. All coming about in a speech about political terrorism coming from the left and linking it directly to communism right as communism is showing its face again in our headlines, showing its face again openly in our politics, tying it all together. The American people, as I talked about last week, hate communism. You ask the American people in massive polls, the favorability of communism is negative 73%. American people hate communism. That they still have not been able to convince us that it's okay. Now, they subvert it. They lie about what it actually is. They call it by different things like democratic socialism. They're infiltrating the minds of our young with these lies. They call it, oh, it's community. It's about community. That's how they get elected. That's how they get support. But when you actually call it for what it is and show for what it is, it goes away very quickly because Americans won't stand for it. And the Trump administration knows this. So it's becoming part of the policy to link it to every little evil thing that the left does and people hate. Stephen Miller added to this in this same forum with this impassioned speech right here, which I think is really worth listening to.
The leftist looks at what is beautiful and what is good and what is natural and is filled with envy and hatred. The leftist looks at a perfect family with the perfect life and a perfect job and perfect kids that goes to church every Sunday and is filled with a feeling of inadequacy and jealousy, and they covet, and they turn those emotions ultimately into a desire to subjugate, to oppress, and to inflict pain and suffering. It's not a coincidence that when you look at these violent Antifa demonstrations, you see any photograph of those who were assembled, to be blunt, not one of the people that is demonstrating looks like a normal person. Not one looks normal. They're all deformed in some way in their appearance, in their dress, in their mannerism. Why is that? Why, if you look at two photographs and you see a normal American street, you see an Antifa protest, why do the people that are violently demonstrating, why is there not one normal-looking person among them? Every one of them, through the course of their life and their decisions, has scarred their body and their appearance in many different ways, to the point in which their outer appearance becomes a manifestation of their inner hatred. Trust your instincts. To all people and across all civilizations, you know what normal is. You know what beautiful is. You know what good is. You know that families are right. You know that children are precious and beautiful and must be protected. You know that the criminal and the junkie and the predator is a threat to normal, healthy living. This is so much deeper than issues about taxation and regulation, although they're incredibly important.
Did you hear what he just said? That's so good and so appealing to everybody listening. Trust your own instincts on what you know is normal and right. You know, with indoctrination, the school system, especially college, what they indoctrinate you to is to think that all these things are bad. The nuclear family is bad. Marriage, bad. Having children, unethical because for the environment it's going to take away your life. Think about you. They try to get you to focus on all the things that are naturally beautiful and good. And what Miller says here is so right. He's saying, no, you going against your instincts is bad. Trust those instincts. Those are God-given instincts. This is very, very good stuff.
It's about normal, healthy, ordered living. And the violent leftists, for these deep-seated reasons, going back to the earliest wisdom taught to us in the Bible about coveting. And I'm not talking about rich versus poor. I'm talking about a much deeper kind of coveting. Coveting people who are morally superior, who are superior in the simple, truthful way they live their lives. People that they look at who are happy and ordered and peaceful and contributing to the communities. That burns an ember in them, and that's how you end up with the horrors we've seen throughout history, where good families are dragged out into the street and executed. And you might say, again, you're describing a future that seems impossible to conceive of. When it comes to preventing these horrors, it is the burden and the duty of good people of all walks of life to understand that you will always be accused of raising the alarm too loudly. If you wait until the point where the worst outcome is so obvious that no one can deny it, you've already lost the battle. That's the fundamental point. If you say, I will not raise this alarm until the threat is so present and so clear and so obvious and so imminent that none can deny it, it's already too late.
Yep.
It's already too late.
Yep. 100%.
I would rather prevent a threat from occurring and be accused for the rest of my life of having falsely raised the alarm, knowing in myself that I was right, than for fear of being judged, having waited too long until the point of no return has been crossed. The good news is that we are far away from the point of no return. So all of us should organize together and work together for the good and the benefit of all the people in our societies, of all walks of life, of all persuasions, to deliver for them what they are justly entitled to, which is to live with safety, with fundamental human dignity, and with the ability to live in peace and harmony with their families and neighbors.
This kind of messaging is undeniable, and it really wakes up the American spirit. It really does. And to know our administration is pushing this and will continue pushing it for the next 2.5 years. You see, when you have strong leadership, it galvanizes the people. It shifts thinking moving ahead. Now, the Trump administration is doing all kinds of stuff to wake us up to where we're at, to shake us out of the managed decline we've been on. And this is another part of it. Again, this isn't coincidence. This happens after the election fraud reveal. This is the kind of thing that the Trump administration is doing to warn us, but also set a fire in our hearts to make sure it doesn't happen again. And Scott Bessent is adding how serious this actual threat really is right now.
But I'm going to remind everyone in this room and all the media that I was the subject of an assassination attempt February 2024 by an addled left-wing activist 2 hours after being sworn into my job. So any of you who want to report that this is a fiction and does not exist, be there for the sentencing this August. So good morning. Thank you, Secretary Rubio, for convening this ministry. But I'm going to remind
Trump has his whole cabinet there talking about this, how evil it is, making you go see the receipts, that it's real and it's happening right now. In fact, just after all this, this morning, we get reported an attack in New York City by leftists on a federal building. Potential bomb. This is the explosion outside the federal building in New York City. Federal immigration agents run out with the FBI. See, guys, we are at a war. We're in a war, and we're winning, but the war is going to ramp up. You see, they are losing. They are caged. They are pushed over to the corner. They don't have much else to do. They don't have much where else to turn. Trump has taken away many of their resources, taken away many of their ability to keep gaining power. As the deep state gets pushed back, the globalists, the City of London, as he's breaking their power, breaking their ability to extort and manipulate our markets through the oil pipelines, through the proxy wars, all of that's being dismantled right now. They're freaking out, and it's going to get worse in some ways while continuing to get better in most. And they're going to come out. They're going to be desperate to do this right after the speech given last week. It's stupid. It's stupid, but it reeks of desperation because this stuff is obvious. And while all this is going on, what happens this morning? Well, Rubio and the State Department just released a report exposing the full history of Cuban espionage and subversion in the U.S. What, as Trump said, we're probably hitting on the way back from Iran is Cuba. We're finding out Cuba has a lot more to do with going on than was originally thought. We just thought they were a nation over there. Leave them alone. They're not hurting anybody. Secretary Rubio saying the Cuban regime has been the leading sponsor of radical leftism and third worldism in the country. What? So Cuba was actually hurting us? This report is right here for you guys to go check out on the government website. It's a massive report, 45 megabyte PDF. That since it came out this morning, I have not had time to go through yet, but you better believe I will, and I'll report on it in a couple days or so. But here's a tag. Cuba's assault on the U.S. was never at root a quarrel over economic policy or sovereignty or even ownership of particular territory. It was a revolution against Western civilization itself, waged in part via the novel and insidious method of persuading the children of the West to turn against their own inheritance. Why now, looking back, do you think every president allowed Cuba to remain communist, to Why did we not mess with it? Why did we allow all these things to keep happening in our hemisphere? Leftist dictators taking over South American countries left and right. A communist, full-on, outwardly communist country 90 miles off our coastline allowed to remain when it's small. They don't have many resources or military. Easily we could have fixed that. Easily we could have given it back to the people. Why was that allowed over all these years? Oh, because maybe they were a part of the takeover, the subversion of our own country for all these decades, and they were in on it. They were allowed to do it. This is crazy, but it's all starting to come out. See, the Trump administration, very smartly, is timing the exposure of all the infiltration of our country leading up to the midterms by specifically the communist systems, CCP, Cuba, who's financed by, guess what? City of London, mostly through Spain, exposing the systems that have come out of the City of London, the globalist systems that promote communism under the guise of democratic socialism. It's all being exposed, and they're doing it leading up to this election as the DSA is now taking over outwardly communist. DSA is taking over the Democrats, which is why Democrats like James Carville are freaking out. This is a big deal, and the timing is amazing. And we got great leaders who truly understand this threat leading it. And just another reason why I believe we're in a new phase. Things are ramping up, and we're winning because we got the right people in charge. All right, guys, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Next, we're going to get our update on Iran, but I did see a couple super chats come in, so I want to answer the questions and respond to the people. Explorator V with a $5 super chat says, a Marxist coalition of the marginalized is filled with people who should be marginalized. Often, yes. And often it grows. They make themselves more of those like marginalized type people because they want to fit in. See, Marxism is all about tearing apart everything that's beautiful and God created, because it makes it, by making it ugly, by accepting perversion, you deface what's good and beautiful about everything God set up for us, our own nature, as Stephen Miller said, our instincts for family, wrong one. Our instincts for family, for beauty. It erases all that because it wants to erase God, because without God, then all of a sudden the only thing you rely upon or trust is the state. And you make the state God, and under that you destroy everything beautiful that can inspire people, that can wake people up. You ever seen the movie Equilibrium about the communist society in the future? And what do? They give you pills to suppress your emotions. They burn all art. That's what they do. They do not want anything good to continue to exist. Razorback says, I have a bad feeling we'll be in another civil war within 5 to 10 years. What are your thoughts? The only way a civil war happens is if somehow the left takes back over our country, say in 2028, and then does a full court press to erase our Constitution and our system, take away our guns. If they do that, if they get in and they start trying to truly turn us into a communist nation in a quick way that's not subversive but overt, that will lead to civil war. I don't think that's going to happen because I don't think the left gets back into power anytime soon. But that's the only way we get to civil war. The left is not powerful enough to lead a civil war right now, to fight Trump in a civil war. It's not. Look at the fact that there's been no riots. Even Tim Pool, who's like the great black pillar, is like, dude, it's crazy. There's been no major riots across the nation since USAID was dried up. See, Trump pulled all their funding. We were led to believe they're much larger than they are. They have no military. They have no access to, weapons. It's very hard for them to organize without all the funding, and the funding's all been pulled. Notice how there's been no false flag events. There's been no terror cells, even though we went after Iran. The Trump administration has cleaned it all up. So do we really think they could lead a civil war? No, absolutely not. There's not enough of them. And the ones that are there are too weak. It's just not going to happen. But the right, if the left ever took over again, the right would rise up in a civil war if they say, stack the Supreme Court, got rid of our gun rights, started just pushing all kinds of stuff on us that's anti-constitutional, breaking the norms, ignoring law to make their changes, ignoring our Constitution. Once we see that threat, that would lead to civil war. But we're not there yet. There's a lot that's got to happen to get there. Trump photobombed the World Cup photo of Spain. Did he? I missed that. That's hilarious. That sounds like Trump. But thank you, Geosat, for the $2 super chat. That's hilarious. All right, guys. Again, if you do want to get in your, if you do have a question or comment for me, please tag me so I see it. And if I don't see it, I'm sorry. There's a lot of shit going on in the chat, but I do my best. Cat Crazy says, 100% agree. We've been in war for at least a decade. I believe the Dems have left, turned their voters into soldiers because they literally have nothing else. Yep, they would like to, but they don't have the funding to do so. Again, that's the proof is in the fact that they can't even get the riots going. Okay, Sooner says, watch Trump's speech, watching on Fox to see it. Sean Hannity came on right after, didn't say a peep. On to the next subject, nothing about sense. Exactly. See, they're all in on it. All the media is in on it. So, okay. All right, I got lots more to get to. So we need to talk about a big part of this war, which even though it's foreign policy, it's actually greatly affecting what's happening right now domestically, because it's all part of the same system. As the whole election fraud thing proved, our own intelligence agencies are working with foreign actors. We've always known this, but we have more proof of it. So when we do these foreign, what Trump is doing in Iran and so on and so forth, Cuba eventually, Venezuela, it all has to do with also what's going on domestically. Now, Iran is ramping up significantly. In the last week alone, the Iran war has gone to a new level. Trump is doubling down, tripling down. We've started hitting their infrastructure, and there's a lot of speculation on where this goes next. Where does it end? How do we finish this? Because it's very clear at this point that Iran is very weak. But the question is, how much more? How much more will this take? How will this end? Will people rise up? Well, I always enjoy Ida Turan's posts here because of their connections to Iran. Says the ground phase in Iran now feels very close. The time has come. The entire Iran coastline from east to west has come under heavy bombardment. This round is very different than the 40 Days War, which was in March. They are hitting military sites belonging to both the IRGC and the regular army. Areas the regime mined had also been struck. Even regime supporters noticed the pattern on the first night, but they can do nothing to stop it. U.S. forces are also destroying deeper missile infrastructure inside the country. I guess that's those super duper secret hypersonic missiles they've been waiting to launch at us, huh, guys? Huh, Douglas? Huh, Scott Ritter? They want to make sure the IRGC cannot launch major attacks once a ground operation begins. These actions help create a secure zone around the strait and energy centers like Kharg Island. CENTCOM has brought in additional amphibious ships in recent weeks. And more importantly, in his last interview, Trump didn't reject the probability of ground campaign. He said sometimes it's necessary. Then he added, we have people that can do it. I think by that he means the Kurds, maybe some other Iranians, stuff like that. I don't believe he's sending in many of our troops at all if we get to that point, because Trump knows that's one area where the base will have significant issues, but we'll see how it plays out. He says some analysts point to closer ties between the UAE and Israel as a possible sign of IDF involvement. Isn't that interesting? UAE and Israel are now working together to solve this. Who would have thought of that 20 years ago? Others speak of Arab-led coalition under American command or even forces from Iraq or Pakistan. In any case, the external pieces appear to have moved into place. UK designated the IRGC a national security threat in the final days of the Starmer government. Now that is wild. Again, I cannot emphasize what a big deal this is. The City of London, UK has held off for decades, calling the IRGC a terrorist organization, which it clearly was. This just plays more into the belief that Iran is a proxy state of the City of London system, globalists. Now, with Starmer leaving, he finally designates them a terrorist organization. It's very interesting. The GCC have stepped back from their double games. It seemed like Trump has got them aligned. Russia's too tied down Ukraine to offer meaningful help to the regime, if they were going to help anyways. Trump keeps urging a return to the table. In this context, any deal clearly means surrender. The only read on Galibef is alive. He knows already. Separately, Israel's defense minister, Katz, said weeks ago Israeli forces are prepared for independent naval and air operations. Target list updated. Will probably move against senior regime commanders once ground phase begins. Low-cost drones tested earlier against suppression forces have almost certainly entered mass production. Regime will push hard on nationalist line. It will claim America wants to occupy the South and split the country. Again, you can't trust anything Iran says. Only real answer is a legitimate national leader can hold Iran together. So he's pushing Prince Pahlavi Reza. We'll see. I haven't seen Trump do that, but it is very interesting. He says, the end of this regime feels closer than many of us expected. That is the key. This guy has ties to Iran. He's Iranian. He has insiders. They believe it's ending. And this would be the best case scenario if the Middle East takes responsibility for policing Iran by bringing troops in, and our strikes weaken them enough for them to feel like they could do that. Trump's ties that he's built, these alliances now we've built with the Middle East, leads to them policing Iran. That would be massive. Giving it back to the people. It's starting to look like that might actually happen. And that would mean Trump accomplishes the absolute best case scenario in the Iran war. That's massive, folks. And it does look like it's starting to be a possibility. Now, we continue to ramp up. Trump ordered CENTCOM to begin targeting infrastructure, power outages, destruction of bridges. And here's some of the latest from CENTCOM.
President's threat to hit Iran's infrastructure with fresh attacks and bridges and roads around the largest port city along the Strait of Hormuz. The hope is it'll get Tehran to stop attacking ships and prevent them from attacking those ships and start focusing on peace. Peter Doocy is live from the White House with the latest. Peter, it seems to be a game plan, a deliberate game plan in place here.
Absolutely, Brian. The war planners here at the White House are trying something different. They started bombing overnight roads and bridges around Bandar Abbas. We have a map that we can put up. The U.S. is trying to take out these bridges and roads, hoping to isolate the IRGC so they cannot resupply their people near Bandar Abbas, which is the key to controlling the Strait of Hormuz. We have a different map of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. This one is a pinch point of the Red Sea, and the Iranians are trying to get one of their terror group proxies, the Houthis, to cut that one off. And experts are saying even a few small attacks there could be severely disruptive to global shipping.
Look at how bad they are behaving. It just proves the president's initial point for launching Operation Epic Fury in the first place. Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. They have expressed they still want to make a deal to the president. We're talking to them, but again, the president is not going to allow them to fire on ships in the Strait without paying a consequence for that.
And the fact that the Iranians are now engaging, trying to activate one of their terror proxies to disrupt shipping in a different part of the world means that they are violating yet another part of that memorandum of understanding, the part that says they cannot engage with their terror proxies. So it seems like there are at least some elements within Iran who are trying to force President Trump's hand as he sits in the White House right now and decides whether or not he should escalate the war or go back to talks.
Playing dangerous games, Iran. Why would they do this? I mean, it's pretty clear to me that they're gaining nothing for their own people. They're gaining nothing for their government. They're getting wiped out. So truly, Iran's crazy. They are. But it also makes sense from the perspective of them being a proxy. Because the proxy, the person who is the proxy, the system that's the proxy, or not the proxy, sorry, that's the controller, they don't care if you guys get destroyed. They just don't want you to lose. So you stay in, you keep ramping up, even though you're getting destroyed. And look at this. I mean, this is what they're doing. Iran is firing about 3 missiles a day at Kuwait. and about 20 UAVs of all types. That's it. That's all they got. They have nothing. As Matt Forney says, 3 missiles a day is a joke. It's basically a fireworks display. Iran's either out of missiles, including long-range missiles. Note how they haven't fired a single missile at Israel since they tore up the MOU, or out of launch pads. Iran lost, Trump won. Interesting. Oh, I kept waiting. None of us ever happened. By the way, this is one of my big wins of the year, I gotta say. Calling it out from the beginning in March that Iran was never going to be able to do much against us, that they were Timu weapons. And what has happened since then? None of the super duper secret hypersonic crazy missiles that so many said were going to come. Again, the exposure from Iran, from Trump's military operations in Iran, have been one of the most revealing things that could have ever happened. Total exposure of Iran, total exposure of China, total exposure of the whole NATO, the whole deep state connections to Iran. It's wild how much we've learned. Now, we were not set up for this though, and there's a crazy story came out this morning that apparently Biden destroyed a quarter of our strategic petroleum reserve. Look at this. The U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve was destroyed by the Biden admin with one of the sites left inoperable. This is one of the reasons we haven't had as much oil in our strategic reserve as we should have. The Biden administration drained it and then ruined it. Previous administration left one of the 4 sites inoperable. This forced the Trump administration to invest more money to move equipment that blocked access to that site. Purchased equipment left on surface, did not install it. Some of that equipment, due to weather, was exposed to, is no longer useful. So we've completely wasted taxpayer dollars on that equipment. The last administration sat on surface and didn't install. They failed to maintain some of the sites. They drained it of 180 million barrels before the midterms in 2022 and never refilled it. So this gives you an idea of like some of the tough choices Trump's had to make, like going into Iran, knowing it would disrupt oil supplies in the immediate future. How the Biden administration basically tried to cripple us from being able to make major operations in the future. Wild, crazy stuff that keeps coming out. And it makes it the fact that Trump was able to keep oil prices from spiking during all this even more incredible, how they pulled it all off, especially with Venezuela. This stuff is crazy. And it just keeps coming out. This would not have probably been exposed without going into Iran and them having to pull from the reserve a little bit. So wild stuff. And in all this, this is the panic. Now the Houthis, one of the proxies of Iran, along with Hamas and Hezbollah, is basically declaring war on Saudi Arabia. You guys want to guess how that's gonna end up for them? Not well. The Houthis are going to take on Saudi Arabia. This is an escalation point. This is the all going out panic. We're doing everything we can to try to cause chaos to make this stop. But all it's going to do is get more of the Middle East on our side and involved to police and stop Iran. This is what's happening. Wild that they think they could do this. Houthis urge followers to be prepared for all scenarios. Houthis say will impose sea navigation ban on Saudis Monday. Going after the Saudis. Crazy stuff. So, I mean, you look at this, you're just like, this is stupid. And maybe it is. Or maybe it's just these people are desperate and making crazy moves. I don't know, but we can watch this and say, my God, that's not going to end well for them. And finally, while all this is going on, Iraq and Syria are now working together on a crude oil pipeline. This priority infrastructure project will advance security and stability through regional interconnectivity and prosperity. U.S. companies will play a key role in advancing construction. Trump has us profiting off of connecting and rebuilding the Middle East while also not having to take over any of these countries, while eradicating the proxy state of Iran that's the state funder of terrorism in the area, the destabilizer of the Middle East, the one controlling the oil, the flow of oil, at least the markets, how City of London, the globalists could always impact the markets whenever they wanted because of Iran. That's all going away. And this is massive because this is going to create more oil flowing outside of the Strait of Hormuz, giving them even less leverage in the future even if they go back to being a people-controlled nation, if the people rise up and take it back over, even if this removes leverage. Again, every day we see more and more ways that the Trump administration, by doing what they've done that nobody understood, oh, he's just Bush 2.0 again, he's actually restructuring the entire world, the energy order of the world, which is better for everyone, every single person, because the more sovereign nations are profiting from their energy and not being disrupted and working together with other sovereign nations, the more oil gets out there, the cheaper it gets for all of us. Energy goes down worldwide. This is massive. And again, it just shows that how brilliant, even though it's controversial, even though many people don't understand, every day we get more and more proof that the Trump administration knew exactly what it was doing by pursuing this attacks on Iran, and we're getting major benefits out of it. Guys, we're still in the middle of it. Imagine what's going to be in 4 or 5 years once this is all settled down. All this new infrastructure is in place. All these new alliances are up and running. We're looking at a whole new dynamic in many, many exciting ways in the future, all thanks to the Iran war. So for now, our prayer is, let's get this finished. And right here, he says, the end of the regime feels closer than many of us expected. That's the hope. That's the prayer. We get to that point and see the people actually take back Iran. And then, I mean, who knows? But I think it's going to be better in many ways than many of us think. The best is still coming, folks. We're just in the middle of the crazy, but I don't think it's going to last much longer. Okay, hit that like, hit that subscribe. I have a major update on the midterms coming up next, where we're at in the political fight against the Democrats, the commies. But before I do, let's get into the chat, catch up with the chat a little bit here. Zoogroom's in the house. What's up, brother? Good to see ya. Let's see here. I thought I saw somebody tag me, but maybe I didn't. Maybe not. Cat Crazy says Trish Regan, maybe even Megyn Kelly will survive. People are walking away from overly produced and commercialized networks. Oh yeah. I feel like I've been covering that a lot, but I agree with you. Let's see here. Why do we get talking about Megyn Kelly? Did I bring up Megyn Kelly and I didn't know it? Violence and Poetry says, I used to think the left had infinite funding from Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and Hollywood, but it's really from USAID because the left is as cheap in politics as charity. That's a big part of it. The other part of it is that much of that money from Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and Hollywood was being funneled through USAID, NGOs funded by USAID, Global Influence, China, Davos, Soros. A lot of that money was coming from that and being laundered through those legitimate organizations to the left. But yeah, the idea the left is infinitely funded is a total lie. It's been completely exposed, and in fact, we're learning that they really don't have much if they don't control the government. That's what we're learning by taking away the free funds they were getting through the government, the nonstop money printing, the covering our eyes to fraud and corruption. With all that gone, man, they are in a really, really bad place. What's up, Travis? Are they recalling veterans to service? I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that at all. You know, here's a good warning for you guys. There's a lot of fake news sites that are right-leaning or that appeal to MAGA crowd, the right, and they're full of lies. They lie about so much. And a lot of this stuff is just, we don't need veterans being recalled right now. Why? Because our enlistment is record numbers. Pete Hegseth came in, got the enlistment numbers way up. Our military is fine right now. We're not lacking manpower. So I haven't heard, doing what I do and seeing all the news I see and all the sources, I would have heard something legitimate, I'm pretty sure, about veterans being recalled. I don't think that's happening. Creep says Trump needs to ignore the federal judges. Not yet. I don't think we're there yet, Creep. I really don't. And I think if he did, at this point, that would still create a bigger problem. I don't think he's going to do that until he gets to the absolute end where he has to, if the Supreme Court doesn't back him up. What do I know this? Do I know what the status of the auto pen and pardons are? No, I believe it's being litigated right now. I did have a good time, Texas. Thank you. All right. Well, guys, if hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you do have questions, comments while I'm going through a segment, please tag me. Or if you want to support the channel, you can always send a super chat to be guaranteed you'll be read, to be guaranteed to be answered. Questions, comments, disagreements, all welcome if you're honorable, or just not. Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. Don't be a troll. Otherwise, moderators will ban you, because we love this community and we want it to be free to keep the conversations going without being just messed with. The other thing is, if you love what I'm doing, if you appreciate it, if you want to support it, there's a viewer supported channel. You can join the membership by going in the description, clicking the Patreon link. You'll get a free month to try it out. Get in the Discord chat, try out the members lives. Guys, by the way, guys, I'll be getting back to my members lives and a class again this week. So that's getting back on track now that my crazy life is slowing down. But yeah, so that's one way to support the channel as a viewer supported channel. And if you like it after a free month, you can hang out. So, okay. Let's see here. Golden rule. That's right. Never on fire until we have an Alex Jones impersonation. I'll save it. Save for the Grifter Report. Lamb's Grace says, which one's right-leaning, can't be trusted? I don't have them all in front of me right now, but there's a bunch of sites out there that they're not like mainstream sites, but they promote all kinds of nonsense, all kinds of crazy stuff. Like I can't even think of it off the top of my head because my mind's just not there right now, but they lie about a lot of the things happening. And they do it to either, give you fear or to make you think crazy conspiratorial things that just aren't happening. And it's just, I'll tell you, if it sounds crazy, it a lot of times it is. So, unblock who? If somebody's talking in this chat, they're not blocked. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? We have a lot to go, guys. We still, all this catch-up time, man. It's getting good. So being gone, I have a lot to talk about today. But we need to talk about the midterms next and where we're headed, what's going on, because this is very important, especially with what's going on with Trump exposing the elections, with the communists taking over, and the nonstop attacks on the Trump administration. It's this midterms is extremely important. So this weekend, we got the news that the DC Circuit is now allowing the U.S. Postal Service to move forward with its proposed election mail rule requiring states to submit voter lists and serialized ballot barcodes before the USPS will mail federal ballots, staying the district judge's order. This is awesome. We are headed in the right direction. This rule will completely shift how mail-in ballots work and make it much more difficult to overuse them for cheating in blue states mostly. This is a big deal. This is from Trump's executive order. It is now in effect. The U.S. Postmaster General said he will be implementing it to a senator who freaked out on him in a hearing, which was glorious. But then a judge struck it down, and now another judge has upheld it, a higher judge, which, this will continually probably be litigated up until it gets to the Supreme Court, in which case I believe the Supreme Court will stay any orders allowing it to go through. But this is good because every time this is lifted, it allows action and infrastructure to be put into place. So this is a big deal for now. We have election integrity evidence out there that Trump just dropped, We have the DHS going after and threatening prosecution for anybody who lies with their registration, double votes, any of that. They're going to go comb through it. So we have the warning out there of this enforcement. We have DOJ with 160 cases already being filed against election integrity in various states. We have the rule going into place. So even without the Save America Act, friends, plenty is being done to make sure that rigging this election is going to be tougher than it's been in a very long time. So very good news. Now, the Trump administration, it's important to recognize, is giving us much of what we voted for. This is important going into the election, that this word gets out. People recognize this, because we don't want to go back to where we were. And one of those things that just was announced is 14 straight months now of zero releases at the border. That, my friends, is huge. I don't know if this has honestly ever happened before in our history, at least not in our modern history. So that is exactly what we voted for. And there is a psyop going on right now that our deportations are slowing down. Well, and it's because we got rid of Greg Bovino. Well, it turns out Bovino was either a snake or an idiot. And here's Tom Homan talking about how we're upping deportations. In fact, June was the highest month ever. But here's the latest on that.
Analysts, I know I'm very fired up about this, but we all got so many questions.
Yeah, so, we've all seen the video now of Greg Bovino, who's standing there in front of the agents. They're about to go do an operation of some sort, and he kind of, with a lot of bravado, says something like, hey, don't do anything illegal, but go get it done. If they hit you, you take, do what you need to with them. I don't want to paraphrase, but I don't remember the words. It seemed like the underlying messaging with the current DHS secretary and your role being brought back into the forefront, at least in front of the cameras, was that, hey, we're going to do just as much work, but we're going to be quieter about it. In other words, this Operation Midway Blitz or Operation what have you, it's not the headline we're looking for, it's the numbers. With that, did there come any change in tactics? Not strategy, but tactics on the ground. We talk about traffic stops. We talk about going after folks. Did the department or any of the agencies change their tactics and what they were telling agents to do with the change in DHS secretary and kind of posture?
Well, let me start by this. You want to compare this year to last year, one secretary to another secretary. We got 40% more arrests than last. So people say that, well, targeting operations don't work. Well, the numbers tell me different. We're arresting more people.
40% more. That's a massive jump. Why is Bovino doing what he's doing? That's a good question, isn't it? Is he just a sore loser because he got fired, or is he part of the PSYOP campaign to make the Trump administration look terrible? I don't know. But with the midterms ahead, the PSYOPs are jumping up more than ever before. But here's Homan on more of it.
It's like a lot what happened in Minnesota, Joey. A lot of people question Minnesota. You surrendered in Minnesota. No, we didn't. We went to Minnesota. President Trump sent me to Minnesota. I didn't ask to go to Minnesota. I was told go to Minnesota and fix this mess, right? We left Minnesota in a lot better shape than we found it. And why do I say that? Because when I went to Minnesota, it was chaos, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say we're looking for one bad guy. So you had a team of 6 or 7 Fuge Ops team to go in after this guy. Violence was so high that now you got to spend a quick response force, another team of 6 guys, to back them up. So we're arresting one illegal alien. We got 15 people out there, which again causes community concern, right? Mm-hmm. So when I went up there, what I did, I talked to the sheriffs, I talked to the chiefs of police, I talked to the governor, the attorney general, and the mayor. Now, I'm not going to agree with the mayor or the attorney general or the governor on anything.
Agree with some of those sheriffs, though.
But what do we walk away with? We walk away with just about every sheriff in that state willing to help us one way or the other. So what does that mean? That means one agent arrests one bad guy, not 15. So what we did, we made that state less of a sanctuary state. So when that one agent now can arrest that one bad guy, what happens to the other 14 people that are out on the street? Guess what? They get to arrest more aliens. They get to go back to their home office and arrest aliens. Is it working? Yeah, numbers up over 40%. It does work.
Tom,
targeting.
Did you hear what he just said? This makes me think that Bovino may have been either an idiot or purposely sabotaging the deportation efforts, because 15-1, they were putting out 15 agents for every one alien deportation. And that was causing a lot of the chaos, the provocation that led to the fighting in Minnesota and so on and so forth. This is crazy. And again, remember, the Trump administration is being subverted at every level, but you get this stuff out there, as Homan's doing. This is good. It's proof that the Trump administration is quick to fix mistakes and quick to get rid of those who are hurting the agenda once it's shown. But again, everything's more successful. Deportations are actually up, and it's all because Bovino and his idiotic ways are gone. Very interesting. I know some in the chat were defending Bovino at one point, but I hope you guys woke up, because this stuff is crazy. This stuff is crazy. But while this is going on, we also have the Haitians are self-deporting. Look at this. Homeland Security putting out there, Haitians with terminated TPS in Springfield are self-deporting following the Supreme Court's ruling. To others in the U.S. with terminated TPS, self-deport today and will help you get back to your country with a $2,600 check and a free flight home. It is now believed that 80% of these Haitians have self-deported. 80%. Why are we not hearing these things, guys? Why are we not hearing this good news? It's incredible stuff. Like what the Trump administration is doing is amazing. And ahead of the midterms, you wonder why they're covering all this up? They don't want you to know. They don't want you to know we're actually getting what we want. Another example of what we want is this. Department of Education is rolling out new accountability tests for colleges and university. Here's the test. If an undergrad program's graduates don't earn more than workers who never went to college, the program could be cut from federal student loans. This is going to completely defund the colleges. It's going to force them to focus on only the things that people make money from. Engineering, math, science degrees, law, medicine. They do that, and all of a sudden, all these other crap degrees that they are getting $50,000 a year for these kids from these loans dries up, and now all these universities can't afford to just be these country clubs for kids accruing debt. That's going to completely change the whole college system going forward, which this will be a generational shift. It'll be an absolute generational shift of cutting off our colleges and all these woke degrees. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. And what also is huge is, and one of the reasons they're fighting this is the Trump accounts. And now Peter Ong talks about how they're going to start doing Trump accounts maybe for grownups to fix Social Security. What if Trump just is fixing Social Security without directly going after it? Because that's politically unpopular. But this is, again, just a way Trump is fixing things that we need fixing that we haven't been willing to go after before because we didn't have the courage. But listen to this.
The Trump accounts are coming for the grown-ups as Donald Trump floats turning Social Security from an IOU from Congress into real assets you own. Which matters because Social Security is going bankrupt, with trustees saying we've got just 6 years until benefits are cut by 20 to 25% because Congress pissed away every dollar on Somali leering centers and other people's wars, leaving Social Security the mother of Ponzi's with an estimated $29 trillion of unfunded liabilities. Keep in mind that is on top of the national debt. Moreover, while Democrats' solutions naturally are tax hikes and cutting off the wealthy people who paid most Social Security taxes, Trump wants to shift it towards the 401k and IRA models where you actually invest the money and keep the proceeds. A model that has generated nearly $30 trillion of assets in IRAs and 401ks compared to $29 trillion of debt in Social Security. Now, the details are still coming since Trump accounts for kids were just launched, which seed $1,000 into essentially an IRA for kiddos, to which you can contribute another $5,000 a year. Now, that may not sound like much, but if you had done that for today's 18-year-old, they would have $409,000. Not a bad way to start out.
Ooh.
In fact, it's enough to buy a house with cash to start a family. More important, it gives kids a stake in the free market system. Democrats' social...
He's right about, and we've talked about all this, but the interesting thing is the idea that this could shift it to that money taken out and put into accounts that are yours, and not the current Ponzi scheme that is Social Security, the current scheme that steals from us and lies to us that we're getting back our own money. No, you're not. That is what they want you to believe. But that money's not set aside and saved for you. It goes into a giant welfare pot that they use as a slush fund to pull from whenever they feel like it. And then when you turn 65, you get a piddly amount a month that you can't even live off of, because your money is taken from your check your entire life and not invested in anything, and instead is used to support their other welfare and fraud schemes. That is the Ponzi scheme that Social Security, that they lied to all of us about. Is your money. Don't worry, we're saving it for you. Except they're not. They're not. And it's always been a lie. It's always been a giant Ponzi welfare scheme that is, it's completely fraudulent. And there's no way it should be in debt if it is the way they said it is. But, you know, whether it was originally started as a good idea or not, that's what Social Security's turned into for the last several decades. And there's only one way out, is to fix it. But we got to fix it in a way that the people can accept and see the benefits of. Otherwise, the voting bloc is too big to allow it to be touched. So you do this, Trump gets in these accounts. This is a brilliant move. And this is something that people could actually be for. And so again, more stuff heading into the midterms. Now, this is interesting for all my market people. I constantly get people saying, when's Trump going to do something about short selling? Well, maybe he hasn't done it on the surface. Maybe we haven't seen the results of the manipulation cleanup, but I can show you this, that the short only hedge funds are going extinct. Look at the drop since Trump's come in. Why are they disappearing, folks? Is it possibly because enforcement is increasing? Is it possibly because they're being exposed? There's a lot of stuff happening that we're not being told. Like this from Kash Patel, 336 fraud and financial crimes arrests. That's mostly Wall Street, friends. Listen to this.
To just highlight some of the work that we are doing. Operation Playground Therapy is what the FBI is here to talk about today. As the Attorney General highlighted, literally tens of millions of dollars that was supposed to go to kids was stolen, allegedly, by individuals who worked in government and the private sector and thought they could fleece Americans and our treasure, our children, of the hard-earned dollars, the taxpayer dollars that we provide to support them in their time of need. Well, they got caught. And not only did they get caught, so many others got caught. Just take a look at some of the vehicles that are here as part of their ill-gotten gains and proceeds. They didn't just take the money, they paraded it around the country. And thanks to this team here, you are seeing what hard work, dedication to the rule of law, and true unified effort across all fronts when no one wants the credit and everyone wants to just do the work. These are the results that we're here to talk about today. Importantly for the FBI, and thanks to Vice President J.D. Vance's vision, he had an idea. He said, hey, you guys have a top 10 most wanted list for all gangbangers, terrorists, narco.
We've covered this before, the top 10 for financial fraud. But again, guys, there is stuff happening. So, you know, we need to get this word out there. The Trump administration is doing their job. For everybody saying that the Trump administration is not doing it, they are. They're doing these talks. The media is not covering it. It's like my friends I just visited in Texas who are totally blackpilling, even though they are very conservative. They voted for Trump. They love Trump. They believed in him. And yet they have been caught up in the podcast sphere and the media nonsense, and they're not hearing any of this. It's only places like this where you're hearing it. And we need to keep getting this out there because, again, the midterms are important and people need to know that things are happening we want to happen. Another example is this. DHS finalizes a rule imposing a 4-year limit on student visas, restricts their ability to change programs, and limits OPT access by requiring new approval. This will discourage foreign students from applying to U.S. schools and upend the plans of thousands. Good. Stop taking advantage of us. The Trump administration, they're hitting it from every angle. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch. But of course, we're still dealing with crappy Republicans on our side. And they're still trying to get through nonsense. Like this. A new agricultural bill just dropped in the House of Reps. It features granting amnesty to illegals in the U.S. as of May 31st who meet minimal agricultural work history requirements. Are you serious right now? We're still going to do this? 50 Republicans have signed on to this Democratic bill. 50. We still have a deep state in our party, folks. Hasn't been completely screwed up yet. I mean, I'm sorry, we haven't completely purged them yet. They're still trying to screw it up, but we're on our way. But this is what they're still trying to get through. Isn't that crazy? Now, this won't happen. There's no way it could pass the Senate, and there's no way Trump would sign it. If it did pass the Senate, he would veto it. But it shows you what we're still up against. But as bad as our side is, it's nothing like the Democrats. Here's John Fetterman on what's going on in the Democratic Party, how bad it's getting.
I've always expressed my dismay the way the Democratic Party continues to turn their back on Israel. So I've said that publicly, like that's my red line. If Democratic Party becomes official anti-Israel, then that's when I would force me out. I've always expressed my...
Fetterman is right there to leave the party. Right there. The latest is the fact that the Democrats, he's already been calling them out for going communist, for going Democratic Socialist, for electing, choosing for the primaries a pedophile, or not a pedophile, sexual abuser in Maine, pissed off Fetterman. And now they're trying to completely go after Israel, which again, I get the whole Israel thing. We're not getting into it right now. It's complicated, but the way they're doing it is messed up, especially when they're willing to fund pretty much everything else. USAID, anybody? But again, Fetterman is very close to switching parties. So that's something to watch for. But it's also spreading. Here is Bill Maher on his latest, what he's seeing from the Democratic Party. And this, my friends, is starting to really send shockwaves through the Democrats. Turns out James Carville had every reason to be panicking the other day.
You told J.D. Vance you're open, your vote is up for grabs.
Yes, my vote is in play because it can't be Trump running. Mm-hmm. So I'm not living in communist America. I mean, I know the talking point is that, well, it's not communism, it's socialism. Okay, I've read the quotes from the DSA platform, from their own mouths. Don't tell me I'm not seeing what I am seeing. And DSA, again, they say things like, takeover of key industries, government. That's communism. There is a definition.
By the way, Trump's doing that too.
Of course. Yes.
And to a degree that we haven't seen any other president, Democrat or Republican, do.
Great. That's crazy too.
He's got a piece of intel.
Right.
A piece of the AI companies.
He treats everything like it's a real estate deal.
You told J.D. Vance you're open. Your vote is up for grabs.
Yes.
Maher is really coming out against the whole communist thing. And listen, when it comes down to the election 28, is Bill Maher going to vote Republican? No. He's going to find a reason to stay. That's not the point here. The point, though, is that millions of people in the middle, left-leaning, left middle, they watch Maher. They trust him. He's still got a lot of influence on that side. And what he's telling them, look out, these people are getting crazy, and it's going to keep a lot of people home. This idea, Maher's not the only one thinking this. And what you do is you discourage your own people, you discourage the people who vote for you, who push your agenda, and then they don't show up. This is huge for where we're headed, and it's why the switch to communism, the outward switch to communism, is actually very bad for their party. It's why their strategists are freaking out. It's why people like Trump are licking their chops every time one of these commies comes out in public. Here's more from Maher.
Democrats are cowardly.
Yeah.
They're cowardly. Their party is being taken over now by, every day I hear about a new, very radical. I feel very good about, like 10 whenever years ago, like I did lose fans because, I wasn't going to go along with some of this crazy stuff on the left too. I didn't change really on what I thought about the right, but just I can't sit and just not notice stuff, which people seem to want to do because it's all about my team or your team. But yeah, there's some crazy stuff. You know, when we're cheering for the Intifada, I gotta cut. I'm out. What Democrats are cowardly.
Yeah. Calling Democrats cowardly? This is big. You know, there's a reason Maher gets a lot of attention when he goes after the woke stuff, all that. And then, you know, the Democrats haven't really listened, but their party has been weakening because of people like Maher. I don't even like Bill Maher, but I do find him interesting sometimes. And he's smart. He sees where it's going. He doesn't want any part of it. There's a lot of people like this, folks. He is speaking for a lot of people. And the truth is in the trends. And right now, the trends are strengthening for Republicans considerably. Not that we love Republicans, but the Democrats are so much worse. Right now, the latest from Decision Desk has the Republicans gaining again. Now it's within 3. They've completely squandered their chances. This is the summertime. This is traditionally when the Democrats do the best. The real campaigns haven't even started yet, folks. The money hasn't even been spent for the most part yet. This is, we're in the early stages and already the Democrats are losing their edge. This is not good for them. It is panic time. Right now, another poll, another projection has Republicans holding the Senate with 53. And it says they're projected to flip Michigan while maintaining Maine, Alaska, Texas, and Ohio. The Democrats could flip North Carolina. It's possible we gain. It's possible we gain. Latest House ratings. Look in 2018. This was Trump's last midterm. Democrats had safe seats, 214 to 201 Republicans. Now it's 215 Republicans to 206 Democrats with only 14 toss-ups. That means if this is true, we only have to win 3 of 14 toss-ups. Now, the best election guy out there who's been the most accurate, he's a little more timid on this, but still overall good. It says his safe assessment, 203 GOP to 187 Dem. If he leans the 22 more, it's 209 to 203. 209 to 203 with 23 to decide. That's Seth Keshel. So all this, guys, is, again, trending in the Republicans' direction, while the fact they have a war chest of $1.1 billion, more than triple what the Democrats are holding. That's where we're at right now. So this is all with Trump, all under the backdrop of Trump calling out the election integrity, providing documents, the ramp up of enforcement starting there, the ramp up of investigations is starting there. We just got the mail-in ballots rule is upheld. So take all these advantages the Republicans have right now, while the Democrats are leaning more communist, which American people hate, and the money hasn't been spent yet. I'm really not worried about the midterms. I think it's looking better and better all the time. So remember, guys, vote. Remember, after all I've shown you continually over and over again, how much we are getting that we voted for, what these changes, the deportations, the changes to college, the Trump accounts, even what's happening in the war in Iran, how that is starting to change our energy structure going forward, how all that is going to lead to generational changes, and we need to keep it going. So show up, vote, and we win. All right, hit that like and subscribe, folks. And again, thanks for watching. I did see some tags in here. Let me get in. I got 2 other segments coming up, including ending with the Grifter Report, which many of you said you missed the most when I was gone. So I can't wait to get there, but we're not there yet. So let's see here. Rockin' More says $5 super chat. Thank you, Beef. He says, won't Trump accounts be awesome for tons of self-employed people in small business? 100%. Think about this. You now, as a self-employed person, if the Trump accounts work out, you now can avoid paying that whatever. I think it ends up being like 12% to Social Security when you don't have an employer match. So take that 12% a year of your income and put it into a Trump account where now it's growing, it's investment, it's tax-free, yeah, that changes your life. That changes your retirement. And it enables you as a small business person to just thrive so much more. Retard alert in the comments. Calling JD a rhino. Listen, there's a lot of things people call JD that, we don't know. And I'm actually talking about Vance next. But calling him a rhino is just, there's literally zero evidence of that at all. Pete Sunnyside, I'm rethinking wanting Trump to go to 11 before 26 elections. Not for it after thinking that move might bring out Democrat voters. We're going to stay home. I agree to an extent. There are a lot of people who think we need to do everything before the midterms, but yeah, that would scare a lot of voters. I think that is why he's doing things more by the system, and people get mad about it, because you scare that middle away who doesn't understand. They run and they will turn. They'll either turn their vote or not show up. And there's a lot of people skeptical of Trump that even voted for him because they don't understand and they still listen to really stupid people. So, let's see here. The chat disconnected for a second. Fetterman, if he switches, don't get me wrong. He's not a conservative. He's a liberal. He's just not a psychopath. He's an old school common sense liberal. And what will happen though? See, what happens when you switch parties, you're now caucusing with another party. And what that means is the pressure is there to fall in line over and over again. So while he'll still vote Democrat more than we'd like, he'll basically become a rhino Republican, which is like, you can count on him for a lot of stuff, but you also know he'll betray you at other points. That's still better than a Democrat. It's still better than a Democrat. I don't understand the attack. Like Vance's Senate record was 95% conservative, and the 5% that wasn't was MAGA, because sometimes MAGA is not traditional Republican conservative. Vance had the strongest record in the Senate of any senator for the MAGA agenda. I don't like, so many of the attacks on Vance are just unfounded nonsense that people just make up because they're believing the psyops. And I'm not saying you have to like JD. You can trust, you can doubt his, well, we're going to talk about JD in the next segment, actually, because the psyop on JD has gone to 11. Talk about 11. Talk about Spinal Tap. It goes to 11. Well, that's what's going on with JD right now. Oh, are we getting back into Thomas Massie? That was like not a good way, right? Thomas Massie is a total fraud. Okay. Don't get me started on Massie. I'll spend way too much time on it. Okay. Let's talk about this. Are you guys ready for this? This one's going to be controversial, and I'm all here for it. JD Vance is, well, let's put it this way. There's been a major escalation of attacks on JD Vance in the last week. Why? Why does everybody go after Vance so hard? And it's not from the good people. Now, I have continually reported on a lot of the stuff held against JD Vance is simply either unfounded or untrue. And that's important because this man is likely to be our next person to win the primaries for the Republicans in 2028. He's leading by 20 plus points over Rubio in every single poll. And so if he runs, it's pretty much his. So the question is, why are the neocons? Why are the rhinos? Why are the groypers and the left continually trying to take JD Vance down? There's a massive attack on him. And whether or not you think he's too young or inexperienced, those are all fine things to be skeptical of. Absolutely. He needs to prove it. There are areas I believe JD Vance needs to prove himself. But the attacks on him are not in that vein. And that makes me very suspect as to why these attacks continue. The latest that really jumped this off was after Vance appeared on Rogan last week, Ben Shapiro came out very against J.D. Vance to tear him down. In fact, here's the post right here leading to a YouTube video he did against Vance saying, I tuned into Joe Rogan yesterday and I heard Bernie Sanders' economics, Barack Obama's foreign policy, and Ro Khanna's conspiracy theories. And then I realized J.D. Vance was talking. I want a candidate in 28 who doesn't mirror the Democrats and who can win. Mr. VP, that's not the way. Wow. Pretty crazy. First of all, there's literally nothing that JD's ever said that you could call Bernie Sanders. However, I will say from a populist perspective, Trump talks more like Bernie Sanders at times than it does a traditional Republican. But folks, that's just called MAGA. As far as Barack Obama's foreign policy, I didn't hear JD say anything about drone bombing kids or American citizens. and the Ro Khanna conspiracy theory was the fact that Vance said that Epstein had Mossad ties, or likely did. Folks, that's not a Ro Khanna conspiracy theory. That's facts. We know that to be a fact, thanks to the Epstein files. So the question is, why is Ben Shapiro so anti-JD? Well, Ben Shapiro, first of all, has no credibility when it comes to deciding our politics, in my opinion. He lost it all when he went anti-Trump. He lost all his credibility to me when he went in full on. I already didn't like Ben very much, but then he went full on DeSantis in 24. He said Trump needs to be gone. Trump was despicable, called him all kinds of things after J6, and now we needed a new direction. See, Ben Shapiro is completely captured by the old establishment wing of the Republican Party, and that's why he hates JD. You see, in 2028, the Bush wing of the Republican Party, the old school Paul Ryan, McConnell, Bush wing of the Republican Party, the establishment people that completely fought against Trump in his first term, they see an open door. They see a chance to get back in because they're losing their party, as Trump just proved in this year's primaries, wiping out several rhinos with MAGA candidates, showing that he controls the party and the people are with him. They're hoping that they can turn that tide finally back in 2028. And they've decided that JD Vance is the one they're going after. Now, I'm a fan of Rubio, but I got to say, it worries me a little bit that these people don't go after Rubio at all. Now, what did actually come out of Vance's interview on Rogan? Well, first of all, many of the clips were taken out of context. And that's important to know because that is how you push a psyop. You take something that's partly true and you take it out of context to make it sound like something it's not. The VP, that's Vance, clarified that there wasn't evidence Epstein was connected to intelligence and that it's bad when American political decisions are influenced by foreign government. But he did say that he believed it's possible because of what he's seen. Because the Epstein files, they sounded like intelligence. Again, we've gone through them. I would say we know these things. But, Vance was being careful, unlike what Ben Shapiro said. The people on the right complaining about this interview didn't watch the whole thing. JD has his finger on the pulse, making all the people who don't want MAGA to survive beyond Trump very upset. Well, I would agree, because he did say stuff like this, which I think most people in MAGA would agree with.
He clearly had connections to the highest levels of American intelligence. He clearly had connections to the highest levels of Israeli intelligence. In fact, one of the interesting things the Epstein saga reveals about, and I try to make this point, is one of the reasons why I'm always careful, and I say there are some elements within the Israeli government who don't like our peace process, because there are a lot of elements within the Israeli government that actually do like our peace process. They recognize that this indefinite campaign is not good for them either. And the Epstein thing is interesting because as much as I know, Prime Minister Netanyahu, not a particularly popular person in the United States of America right now, Epstein seemed to be connected to the elements of the Israeli deep state that were left of center. Like, I've always found that fascinating. it wasn't like he was super connected to the right of center of Israeli politics. America, he was connected across.
That's interesting. And again, I don't think MAGA has anything against what was said there. To me, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. And I'm not saying I loved every single thing that JD said, but you know what? I don't have to. I just need to trust that he directionally is where I want to go. I don't love every single thing Trump's ever said, and yet he's the greatest leader of our time, and I would, I support pretty much everything he does. So tell me what more from your actions, not your words. This is a 3-hour podcast. Of course, you might say something you don't like, but this is really good right here as well, and I think this is one of the reasons they're freaking out. Listen to what he has to say about influencers.
There was a Time story that came out yesterday that basically there are certain influencers in America who are being paid in order to attack the deal. I think some of it's just pure political ideology, right? It's foreign policy perspectives that are much different from mine. They think that America should that we can basically, you can wave a magic wand with the military and accomplish whatever you want. And, it's not that simple. You actually have to have a very clear objective. Military power can accomplish a clear objective, but you've got to have that clear objective. You can't just say, we're going to bomb until something good happens. That never works. The United States has tried that before. So I think it's a combination of things, but I definitely think you have seen this very discreet, extremely well-funded campaign to try to derail the negotiation and try to derail the deal. And, there's this Time article that came out yesterday. A friend sent it to me. It's like worth reading because it lists a bunch of people who have quite literally been paid by a former Trump campaign person who was himself paid by certain elements within the Israeli government. And those people are attacking me viciously for quite literally trying to accomplish the negotiation objective that the president set for the country. So
what is their position? Like, are they attacking you how?
Oh, it's social media posts. It's, they're leaking to reporters. They're attacking me obsessively, saying that we should not be negotiating with Iran. We should just keep the military campaign going indefinitely. And that is their explicit position. And coming after me saying that, people have come after me and say that I'm influenced by Qatar, that I'm influenced by foreign governments, that, I take my marching orders from Tucker Carlson. And there's just so much bullshit out there when what I'm actually trying to do is accomplish what the President of the United States told me to accomplish, which is a settlement of this that accomplishes our objectives. Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. We have the free flow of oil and gas. And like, I should be clear, I don't actually mind. I don't mind that let's say certain elements of the Israeli government want to criticize the deal or have disagreements about the deal. I don't even mind an effort to try to influence, foreign governments try to influence the United States all the time. Israel does it, other countries do it. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. What bothers me is actually when Americans meaning American leadership, allows that influence to affect their judgment and to affect what they are advocating for. That's what really bothers me. People are always going to try to influence the United States of America, whether they're allies of ours or whether they're enemies of ours. But again, when I open up the pages of Time magazine and I see that there's a literal foreign influence campaign being funded to tank the very deal that I was pursuing, and oh, by the way, many of the people who were receiving that money were actually attacking me in completely dishonest ways, my response to that is, well, go to hell.
Guys, we do have psyops on both sides, and it's not just the Time article, okay, that matters here. He's talking about Brad Parscale. Now, Brad Parscale has been on the radar for a while now, and this has come out way before this Time article. This is, in fact, from last year. See, Brad Parscale worked with Trump's campaign, and he registered with FARA to work with Israel. This is facts, okay? What JD is saying right now is facts. You don't have to like it, but it's true. And by the way, folks, I am not anti-Israel. I am not at all. But I do recognize there are aspects of Israel that have been used by the City of London through MI6, through Mossad, to affect us at times, to do things at times. Anybody who thinks Israel is perfect and never makes mistakes or has never done anything deep state, you guys need to wake up. On the flip side, anybody who thinks Israel controls the world and always does evil stuff and everything they do is bad and they control the U.S. government, you're retarded. So don't go on either side of that. So let's have an honest conversation. This is a fact. Brad Parscale registered with FARA and has a $6 million contract working with their algorithms on ChatGPT, so on and so forth. But it's not just that. He also has funneled money to influencers, and all those influencers tend to hate JD Vance. Why? It's very interesting. It's the Ben Shapiros of the world, the Zionists of the world who hate JD Vance. And again, I'm pro helping Israel. I'm pro, as long as they're an ally of ours that is helping our interests, I'm all pro all that. What I'm not pro is pure on Zionism in the most extreme form, which is, and I know this growing up as an evangelical Christian, this belief that Israel can do no wrong. We support them no matter what they do. That's completely wrong. And we shouldn't treat any country like that. Okay. It's not just Israel, but there is a faction of that pushes it. JD's completely right about that. And that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. Oh, by the way, a lot of the stuff against JD Vance also started with Whitney Webb, who Whitney Webb is not to be trusted in any way, shape, or form. The woman doesn't even live in America. The woman blackpills about everything. So again, there are legitimate criticisms of JD Vance, but the operation against him is very interesting and goes to a whole nother level. And Blake Cresses breaks it down very well here. He says, the pro-Vance crowd also loves Rubio and thinks he'd make a great VP. I'm in that here. That's me. I love JD Vance. And by the way, I think Rubio would make a great president. If he's the choice, I will be 100% behind him. I'm all about it. Rubio or Vance, we have a wealth of options going into 2028. But the pro-Rubio crowd foams up at the mouth when confronted with Vance's very existence. That is interesting, isn't it? I have noticed that. It does seem that in my experience on my show, the comment section, 90% at least of the people who write me about Rubio hate JD Vance or say all kinds of nonsense about him or have weird reasons why they don't like him. In fact, recently somebody said, I don't like JD Vance, just look at his eyes. Okay, bro. Okay. Thanks for that great intelligence right there. That really helps me make decisions. Again, I'm a data guy. I've looked into both their pasts. Rubio has an even more sketchy past than Vance does, especially when you look at his voting records. But does that stop me from liking Rubio, to thinking he's kind of come on the Trump train, the MAGA train? No, not at all. And so to me, it always comes down to the hatred of Vance is so unfounded and awkward, whereas the Rubio stuff, he gets this free pass. I just don't understand it. And that's from somebody who even likes Rubio. So again, that tells me, guys, when stuff doesn't add up like this, that tells me there's an operation. And if you, again, don't like Vance for the reasons, or don't trust Vance for the reasons that are legitimate, he doesn't have enough experience, he's too young, we haven't seen enough of him, fine. That's legitimate. Let's talk about that. But when you act as if Vance is some operative, some technocrat controlled by someone outside, subverting Trump, weak and pathetic, not smart. I'm like, I've watched hundreds of hours of this man talk. He's a genius, like it or not. I don't take it serious. But the fact that so many people do, the fact that so many people make these unfounded charges at Vance tells me there is an operation. And for those who don't like Vance for the legitimate reasons, you also should ask yourself, why are they so scared of him? That's a question I like to answer as well. And as Brendan Dilley says here, imagine thinking you know JD Vance better than Trump and his team do. Yeah, imagine that. Those of you who still have the arrogance to believe you know better than the president are beyond ridiculous and need to pump the brakes before you crash out like so many others. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Because in my opinion, guys, when you're going, JD Vance sucks, JD Vance we can't trust him, he's terrible. When you're saying that, you're saying you don't trust President Trump, but you trust Ben Shapiro. For me, that's an easy decision to make. I'm going to trust Trump all the way. Why? The question is why? Is everybody, the neocons, the Zionists, the Groypers, why do they all hate Vance so much? That's always the interesting question to me. But I guess we'll see how it all plays out. All right, hit that like and subscribe, guys. And next is the Grifter Report. We're going to get into it. Let's see here. Listen, the whole like JD Vance married an Indian woman is such a stupid racist thing. I do not care at all. Okay. He also married her before he came back to Catholicism. And the Bible says when you marry somebody, it says if they leave, you're free, but it does not say get divorced with somebody because you disagree with them. So, let's see. I know lots of people who have liberal parents who are not liberal. Deuterino. Again, see, Deuterino, you're making a lot of my points for me. Thank you so much for that. You're doing the guilt by association with no other proof. Guilt by association only works. Guilt by association only works when you have evidence to also support it. The whole JD Vance thing is not supported by any evidence. It's only guilt by association. And that's exactly what they tried to do with Trump and Epstein. How'd that work out? Let's see. You guys, I'm looking at all your guys' criticisms of Vance except for the ones like I'm worried about his lack of experience, and all these are just retarded. He's married to an Indian. He got worked by the Iranians. That's retarded. He didn't get worked by the Iranians. First of all, he did it with Kushner, Witkoff, and Trump's approval on the deal. So if you're saying JD got worked by the Iranians, you're also saying Trump got worked by the Iranians. I'm sorry, but the MOU is a proof. It set them up for where we're at now. We've talked about this. These are so stupid. You guys, I like a lot of you guys, but you guys are telling me exactly that the Vance thing is a psyop because I don't see any evidence on any of this stuff. You don't have any evidence at all. It's all, I don't like him. I don't like him. I don't trust him. Look at his eyes. He's married to an Indian. He knew Peter Thiel. None of this is evidence of anything. It's so retarded. I'm sorry. You guys got to do better. You guys should have one thing you can point to that's legitimate for criticism of Vance. I see a guy who is the most MAGA senator we had for 2 years, which I agree is not very long. Most MAGA senator we had. Trump chose him specifically after he was shot, which tells me Trump wanted somebody he could trust implicitly, and he chose Vance. And Trump's had he's given Vance control over a whole lot. Negotiations with Iran, the fraud push, which has been very successful. That's trust. So I'm sorry. Again, say all the stuff you want about his experience and that you have concerns, but don't be like, you don't like him because he's married to an Indian. UAV says, I'm not listening. I'm lecturing and judging. Yes, I am lecturing, and I am judging the stupid opinions you threw at me. Doesn't mean you're stupid, but it means you've been psyoped, friend, and you have everything you threw at me is unfounded. Trust me, bro, nonsense. Give me something real. I'm still waiting for something real. So yes, I'm judging your opinion. It's a stupid opinion. It's stupid when it's not backed by anything real. So that's what I'm saying. Chicky Rogue, who did I put down? Did I call out one person? So this is so crazy to me. Okay. Listen, guys, I want you to watch the chat right now because everything I just said is happening in real time. Okay. So what did I just get? You're entitled to your opinion. Don't put us down for ours. Do you see the game right there? Opinion, no data, nothing founded. Okay. Nobody throws anything at me legitimate about why I shouldn't trust Vance. but they get very, very upset when I criticize them for it. They get very, very upset when I say you don't have anything. And then it's, oh, you're hurting our feelings. Stop criticizing us. You're hurting us. I don't play those liberal bullshit games. I'm sorry. That means you're psyoped. If you don't have real facts, you can't bring me anything. You're relying on your emotions. Bring me something. I tell people all the time, bring me something, please. Please bring me something. Bring me one thing. You can bring it. See, here it is again. You're wrong, bro. Vance is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay, prove it. Oh my God. You guys are just proving me right. Do you understand that? Some people are saying Pence looked good until J6. No, he didn't. Pence did all kinds of dumb shit. Also, yeah, Rubio voted for amnesty. Rubio voted that Trump couldn't get us out of NATO. Come on. Are you guys serious right now? Like, this is insane. What's your experience with Vance, Deuterino? I didn't hear anything with Vance. In fact, somebody in here did say they actually knew Vance. He lived a couple doors down from him and that he's legit. Here, Diane, I think it was Diane said this, or is there a thing? Was it Diane? Somebody in the chat said Vance lived a few houses down from her and was legit. So just saying, guys, I mean, come on. All I'm getting, it's amazing. It's amazing watching in the chat exactly what I happened to see. You can say the MOU is a bad deal, but you're also not understanding what the MOU is all about, which I've covered. It wasn't about actually getting a deal. It was about giving the Iranians an off-ramp that was too good to be true. And when they didn't take it, it gave Trump the go-ahead to the whole world to do what he's doing now and finishing the job. It was either the Irans get whatever, like here's an amazing deal for you guys, get back on the world stage, that any country would be retarded not to take, and they didn't take it. So, let's see. Ashley says, everyone's been psyoped into not believing the government is completely understandable. Understandable doesn't make it right. Why are you watching, you get, when you get real evidence, you no longer have an excuse to be psyoped. JD's a Seahawks fan. Well, then I hate him. He's done. I'm done. I hate it. Get him out. Seahawks fan. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much if he's a Seahawks fan. Dude, I know what this UC system is too, but you're doing a trust me bro right there. Her parents were in the UC, so he must be controlled by them. Come on. Like that, what does that tell us on anything? Yeah, Belinda notices it. Diane says, Vance grew up in Middletown, Ohio with his grandma. We all went to school together. We had gardens, fish hunt. We worked so hard. So she knew him. So, okay. But again, guys, I just wanted to prove to you that, I do a section on why there's attacks on Vance that are unfounded. And then what happens? My chat explodes with people mad and upset and skeptical of Vance, and all their reasons are trust me, bro, connections that have nothing to them, or at least nothing we can prove. And that is amazing. Okay. That's amazing to me that I could do this whole segment on this, and every single one of these people criticize Vance just prove me right. Again, will it turn out JD Vance is a bad dude? Maybe. It's possible. That's possible with anybody, though. You could say that about anybody. Is it completely possible Rubio is a rhino in waiting to screw us over as a neocon president? It's completely possible. His voting record says it's actually more likely that he would do that than Vance, because that's facts, folks. That's receipts. I can prove to you that, but I'm trusting for Vance, aren't I? I'm trusting for Rubio too. So are you. Isn't that funny? I think that's hilarious. I think that's hilarious how you guys just, you proved me right. I think that's hilarious. Let's see. Rubio or Vance? Well, right now, if Vance runs, Rubio said he wouldn't even run because they're best friends. So, hey, maybe you should trust Marco Rubio about his opinion of Vance. Hey, how about this one, guys? For everybody who loves Rubio so much that they hate Vance and they only trust Rubio, how about the fact that Rubio trusts Vance so much that if Vance runs, Rubio said he won't run? How about that? What do you guys do with that one? That's interesting. Are you saying Marco Rubio is retarded and he doesn't know the secrets that you guys know? That stuff's hilarious. That's hilarious to me. You guys are hilarious. I don't understand how your logic works. Motley Cruel, $10 super chat says, Trump always knew he'd finish the job. He's talked about ending Iran for decades. Vance deal was just for show. They knew they wouldn't stick to it. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Yeah. Thank you, Motley, for the super chat. Okay. I'm going to get on. You know, I'm teasing you guys. I love you guys, even when I disagree with you. But I do think sometimes you need to ask yourselves, why do I actually think what I think? Instead of just trying to make a case that you don't have right now. Again, if some actual comes out on JD Vance, please DM me, hit me up on X, send me an email, show me receipts. I would love it. Please show me. He blackmailed Rubio, bro. Is that the new story? That is hilarious. That is hilarious. But seriously, send me stuff. Send me stuff, and I will look at it. I actually look for data. I actually look for receipts and history. I don't do the trust me bro thing. I don't do the trust me bro. I'm not Candace Owens. Okay. I'm not canned Ace Owens. That's I'm not going to play those games because just can't because that makes that turns me into somebody who will eventually fall apart, just like we're watching Candace fall apart and Tucker fall apart. That's what happens when you play those games. You just have to follow data. You have to follow actual history and find all that up. Okay. I need to see it. I need to see something real. I don't do the, you know what, because all that stuff everybody would have said about Trump in 2015, same people. Can't trust Trump. He was a Democrat for 20 years. You can't trust Trump. He was at Chelsea Clinton's wedding. You can't trust Trump. Him and Bill Clinton were buddies. That's what everybody was saying back then. Isn't that funny? Isn't it funny how well the trust me bro stuff works? It all falls apart at some point if you don't have more. So you gotta actually show something. Rumors are true. What the rumor that Vance blackmailed Rubio? Okay, come on. Oh my God. Wow. You guys are hilarious. Thank you for the laugh. That's a good laugh right there. He blackmailed Rubio. Marco, I got so much on you. If I run for president, you will not run. Come on. Are you serious right now? That's just hilarious. You guys are funny. Oh, that's good stuff. Okay. Time for a little Griftar report. You guys ready for this? We have a very interesting things that have happened this weekend, including, the Tates are back. The Tates are back in the news. How are they making the Grifter report? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute here. But first of all, Tristan and Andrew Tate arrested by U.S. Marshals in Florida. They were arrested in order to be extradited to the UK on charges of sex trafficking and all kinds of horrible stuff, rape. Why? We don't usually extradite. Isn't that interesting? Why would we even think about doing this? Well, and also especially in the land of Florida, which is the most based state in the nation currently under Ron DeSantis and under Trump's watch. You know, I more and more think there's definitely something to the Tate brothers. I'm sorry. I'm going to get some hate for this. I don't care. These guys, like them or not, like how they talk about masculinity or not, they are disgusting human beings. And the way they treat women is atrocious and use women. And just like Nick Fuentes appeals to a lot of broken men, so do they, but for all the wrong reasons. The question is, why is this happening now? Well, how about, we let Andrew Tate describe it a little bit to us.
I was all about trying to get paid. Like I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money. That's what I wanted. So I was a pimp in that sense.
Being kickboxer, playboy, pimp. I'm happy with those labels so far.
But the majority of my money wasn't made in fighting. My money was actually made in the pimp game. We need to understand some basic concepts to the pimp game. Basic concepts to the realities between men and women. Women need a man to do OnlyFans. It's the same reason a woman need a man to do anything, because they're incompetent and they're very, very lazy. And they're stupid. When you're pimping bitches like me, it's a full-time job. So yeah, on CobraTape.com I have my PhD program, and that is, PhD is a pimp and hose degree that I'm... Welcome to the Tate PhD course. If you've bought this course, which you obviously have, congratulations, you're going to change your life for the better. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm fucking certified. I know I don't look like a pimp right now.
Clever.
That teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how I got girls to fall in love with me to work on webcam for me. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention...
These guys are disgusting. These guys are absolutely disgusting. And I'm sorry, but they are grifters. They're grifters in the fact that they have used this influence to get into the political sphere of pushing this whole like masculine influence on mostly broken men or scared little boys, and teaching them to push this whole idea that like women have no value or they should be treated very poorly. And somehow, some way, they made themselves into the conservative side of things. They pushed themselves in. They are not pushing as much politics. However, they are adjacent to all of it. And if you don't believe me, look at how in the past, Candace Owens promoted him, Tucker Carlson promoted him. And then we have people like Michael Flynn, General Flynn, calling out what happened to the Tates as having been abused by a weaponized justice and law enforcement system like no one ever should. I find the statement compelling. Believe a case needs a level of visibility to ensure a proper rule of law is followed, not simply bending to the UK's request. Fair enough as American citizens, correct? However, why even jump to their defense when you're like, as Brian Cates says, Mike Flynn, you're the public face of an organization devoted to ending sex trafficking. And a whole bunch of people left recently. Didn't you publicly solicit a sizable donation for the Gold Institute Defense think tank you're part of from Andrew Tate last year? Andrew Tate's funding Michael Flynn? Not sure where this is headed since the Tate bros don't exactly hide their sex trade business, but I'll be following along. Very interesting. Very interesting. Guys, this stuff gets dark sometimes, and this is one of those areas where I feel like it's getting dark because it's pretty clear to me that the Tate brothers are traffickers in one way of the word. I mean, they literally, as he said himself, groomed women and then got them to run sex cams for him. That's pretty gross. I don't know if it gets much grosser. In fact, some of those women may have been 17 or younger when he got them started. So again, this is the kind of thing where you like, I don't always like how this stuff's handled, but at the same time, there might be a there there. There might be a there there. And so we got to watch this one carefully because I think something's going down with the Tates. Something's going to go down with them. And it's not looking good. But so while all this is going on with the Tates, and getting all the magosphere up in a tizzy and, possibly exposing some people in our sphere, Tucker decided to do his thing again this last week and brought on this man who has really, really crazy takes in his attacks on what Trump is doing. And now Tucker continues to undermine Trump at every opportunity. But listen to this.
Netanyahu and Ben-Gvir and who's the ambassador there? The
U.S. ambassador is called Mike Huckabee.
Mike Huckabee, excuse me for laughing, but yeah, crazy Christian Zionist.
Right.
And you know what? And maybe at the bottom of it all is they're all waiting for the coming of the Messiah. They don't care. Well, Mike Huckabee obviously hopes it'll be Jesus, because then he can go to heaven with Mike Pence and the other Christian Zionists. I'm sorry to
No.
fun of
I
it,
couldn't agree more. That's not Christianity, just for the record. It's not even a close facsimile of Christianity.
As I recall, you're a Christian, right?
Yes, I am.
As I recall, Jesus threw the moneylenders out of the temple.
Yes.
Or tried to.
Yeah.
That's probably why they crucified him.
Braided a whip.
There you go. And I'm not making a joke about that. That bit of history really impresses me, because usury is, one of the things that the U.S. government and other government, particularly the Israeli government, have got against Iran is that lending money for profit is illegal in Iran. Did you know
Really?
that?
I didn't know that.
It's against the law. Usury is against the law in the Islamic Republic of Iran, in Persia. It's illegal.
Why would that offend other governments?
Yeah, it's the basis of the way everything works, is that you get control over a government by lending them money. And once you've lent them the money or given them the money, I mean, don't look at me with your brow furrowed like that. You've seen the Congress of the United States and the cash that they've got.
I'll admit I'm...
So apparently the whole reason we went into Iran is because they're against usury, which makes them morally superior to the Jews, which is basically the entire argument here made by on the Tucker Carlson show that he's got no pushback for whatsoever. This stuff is insane, but this is what Tucker Carlson is parroting out. By the way, when does Tucker Carlson put this out there? This particular interview, exactly the week when we ramped stuff up in Iran. Interesting timing, right? Very, very interesting timing. It's always the Jews are the evil ones, the Jews. Well, Tucker continues to put that up there, and Iran apparently is just the most moral nation on earth. Thank you for that, Tucker. Thank you for that. Again, the joke, man, is that the Tucker Carlson is still taken seriously. I don't understand how anybody, especially an American, a person who calls themselves outwardly a Christian and an American patriot, could ever believe these crazy things. But here's Tucker just doing what he does best. But Tucker continues to expose himself, but it's just getting way worse for Candace. Way worse for Candace, because she's doubling down on her nonsense conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk, while those theories are being debunked in real time in an actual court of law. And here's one of the latest here's a real press release. TPUSA released February 21st, 2019. Candace Owens now claims this never happened. Oh, you know what they are claiming never happened? Well, how about the fact that Candace Owens says she was never pushed out by Turning Point? Well, here's the actual press release shared by Paramount Tactical. Thank you for that, sir. But here's the actual release that went out from TPUSA, February 21st, 2019. This will give you a good idea. By the way, this was when Charlie Kirk was 100% in charge of TPUSA. This should give you a good idea of what Charlie thought of her. Turning Point USA is free markets, limited government and fiscal responsibility, where freedom of speech, political activism, grassroots humility, and our credible field program. Strong chapters and activities throughout this nation. Ones who receive backlash from school administrations have speakers uninvited or protested, have grades ruined for standing for our values, and our faces painted in local media. But we don't care. We continue to fight back. Why? Because we know that's what we say and what we believe is truth. Many activists and chapters have reached out to top employees at headquarters and within the national organization about Candace Owens' role at Turning Point USA. We have yet to receive any substantial response. It's unfortunate that this is the manner we've had to resort to. We can no longer silently wait for things to change. We are chapters, presidents, and leaders of Turning Point USA, and we condemn the rhetoric and role of Candace Owens within our organization. What? I thought her and Charlie Kirk were best friends. I thought her and Charlie were peas in a pod. Always going to be together. She's truly Charlie's guy. Our girl, Charlie loved her, would have done anything, had her out there. No, in fact, the words that came out of Charlie Kirk's organization when he was head, we condemn the rhetoric and role of Candace Owens within our organization. Wow. And it goes on. It says, it seems that controversy has always surrounded Candace Owens. And unfortunately, since her time as communications director, these controversies have been a reflection on Turning Point USA. As a comms director, she should be further advocating for Turning Point USA's mission, not her own projects or platform. Wow. Seems like Candace has always been a dirty, crazy grifter. Insane. She should be further, we understand as an individual, she has a right to express her own thoughts and opinions, though they don't always necessarily align with Turning Point's mission. However, when she's serving in the capacity of the role she has and she says she can and will be interpreted by others as a reflection of Turning Point. Most recently, her comments about Hitler and nationalism caused a stir. Was the video cut to make her look like Hitler's supporter? Yes. Do we believe Candace Owens supports the actions of Hitler at home? No. But this case serves as a perfect demonstration of how simple messages she means to convey become controversial, headlining news within a matter of minutes. Again, as comms director, she must know how to communicate professionally and effectively, understand when she speaks. Turning Point USA is associated with those comments. It sure looks like she has some reasons to hate TPUSA. Interesting. As being this called out by them. The whole Turning Point USA, this letter is to all their organizations across the U.S. Basically, Candace is poison. Stay away from her. Additionally, there's no problem with condemning the Me Too movement, but the way in which Candace went about it was tone deaf. Seemed as though she looked at Me Too movement as another leftist facade for trying to take down men. Unfortunately, she missed the mark. For a lot of people, conservatives included, the Me Too movement was about solidarity with and victims of sexual assault. When she made her comments, outsiders didn't just look at it as Candace saying these things. They looked at it as comms director of TPUSA saying these things. Something that became very evident during that summer's Young Women's Leadership Summit. TPUSA is above this thoughtless and divisive rhetoric, and as chapters, presidents, and leaders of Turning Point USA, we will no longer stand idly by as they continue. We don't believe Candace Owens to be the most effective rep for Turning Point USA as comms director or otherwise. We've seen many hardworking activists and chapters across the U.S. disassociate with Turning Point USA because they can't align themselves with the rhetoric and statements that come out. The core and backbone of TPUSA is our chapters and activists. If we're being discouraged, how will TPUSA go about fixing this? What will be done? Oh, man. Not good. Not good for Candace. This really shoots her everything she stood for and said in the past about her and Charlie's relationship really puts a big stake in that. And not to be outdone, going back to the Tates, here's her defending the Tates. She was warned Andrew Tate was a pimp, and then she proceeded to defend and lie about his criminal cases. That's who Candace Owens is. It just keeps going, doesn't it? It's just crazier and crazier for Candace always. She seems to be connected to all these people, including now going after Steven Crowder. As Rachel Wilson puts, oh no, you guys, Steven's in on it too. Being a fan of this woman's truly an IQ test, and this is why. If you haven't caught on, it's always Steven Crowder who gets the exclusive on a bizarre trans narrative. Directly from the FBI like he did for Audrey Hill in the Nashville shooting. There's a reason for that. He helps the FBI establish a trans narrative so that the public doesn't prod further. It just keeps going and going. She's like the Energizer Bunny of grifters. She just keeps going and going and going. This woman, it's all falling apart for her, guys. And this is a major one. Now that this is out on X and spreading, Candace is the beginning to me of the fall of the grifter sphere, podcast, Fago, whatever you want to call it. I really believe as this keeps spreading and her lies continually be debunked in such a public way, and because of her nature and the roads she's burnt so much in the past over and over and over again, it's just going to get worse and worse. And as she collapses, she's bitter enough to bring others down with her. So the grifter sphere, folks, it's not looking good for them. It's continually to ramp up. people are losing trust of Candace, they're losing trust of Tucker, Alex Jones, the Tates, go on, so on and so forth. And we'll continue to follow all this stuff. I'm very interested to see what happens with the Tates going forward. But I think at this point, Candace is pretty much done. I don't know anybody serious who's really taking her seriously anymore. That's a good thing for all of us involved. And I'd say anybody who actually cares about truth. All right, guys, please hit that like, hit that subscribe. That's the Grifter Report today. I'm sorry it's not as funny as other ones, but didn't have the material for funny today. Just the bombshell of that document. Let's spend some time in the chat now. Get into, let's see, $5 super chat from David Cowboy says, bro, I was joking. I see how you understood, was making fun of bros. I'm on your side. Oh, okay, David. Thanks, buddy. You know what's really hard to detect in a chat is sarcasm. I'm just being serious. I'm sorry. So, listen, I'm not perfect myself. I'm susceptible. I'm susceptible to being led astray. Thanks for clarifying though, brother. And thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate you very much. Dave Ricard asks, is it true Elon and DJT Jr. were standing up for the Tates? I don't know about this time. I didn't see, but in the past they've supported them over the fact of like how the law system was seemingly, it's like when they were held in Romania on house arrest for so long and then nothing came of it. That's messed up. It really is. And listen, the Tates are American citizens. They deserve their legal process, all that. And I think that was kind of what was being supported, was making sure the legal process was filled out. But I don't know how many people understand how gross what the Tates actually do is. Because if you just see Andrew Tate talking when he's not talking about, pimping his hose, but when he's actually just talking about like masculinity and stuff like that, he sounds like a normal, like somebody worth listening to. He comes across that way sometimes. So who knows what they actually know about him if they defended him. I can't speak for them. I also can't speak for what they did support. Your boy says Candace is straight trans Tifa now. Damn community who assassinated Charlie are huge fans of her show. Have been for months. She's Islamo commie. I mean, I'm not gonna disagree. It's not your bad, David. It's I didn't catch it. Lisa says, what do I think next step is for Trump on election fraud? Well, I think DHS announced the next steps. They're ramping up enforcement. They're putting pressure on the states to divulge their voter rolls and creating legal avenues that make it tough for the states to deny it. So what he's doing is, they're ramping up what they were already doing, but he's creating the case that creates legal consequences for not obeying anymore. And that just increases the pressure. But I believe we'll see more in a little bit. I do. I think he'll be dropping more over time. Play the dude in the wig portraying Candace again. I'll always play Ami when he's got good stuff. He's hilarious. So, all right, guys, for a few minutes, I'll take questions, comments, anything you guys have. Just please tag me so I can see it. DJ says Rogan was grilling JD about aliens. JD looked uncomfortable. Maybe a little bit. I will say that JD answered it really well because he said that he thinks most of those aliens are basically demons. And I actually agree with that. I think what we've seen from the aliens so far still fit within the biblical description of demons. So there's that. Sleepy Trash Man with a $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. Says, I'm literally catching up with the stream. On one segment of this, I got to say, antinatalism was one of the craziest psyops ever for me. Amen, man. People who hate babies, wanting to have babies, raising kids, I don't understand it. It's so anti-human. That's what it is. It's crazy. So, is national emergency on the table? Yes, but he's building the case to set him up in case they want to do it, in case they need to do it. That's what I should say. Let's see. Thank you, Trashman, for the super chat, by the way. Going through here. Making sure I'm catching you guys on the stuff you tagged me on. Making sure I didn't miss any super chats because I guarantee super chats will be read, so I don't want to miss one. Oh, I did miss one. Doc No with a $5 super chat says, Tucker's real problem is he doesn't have the acting chops for the performative BS he tries to pull off. He doesn't, man. He does the like, well, oh yeah, like, the whole like asking questions thing. I don't know. I mean, I agree with you. Let me put it that way. Tucker's slimy, but he's not as smart as he wants you to think he is. He's more clever than smart. That's why he has a lot of people on who sometimes, even if they're bad, they're smarter than him. And he just tries to make it sound like, like he doesn't push back. He lets them say all their stuff and just agrees with them and then tries to make it sound like really, he's one of them. Freenet says usuries against the law. I need to move Iran now. There you go. See, they're truly the good ones. Do I think the Save America Act goes through with reconciliation? I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't think it's going to get through the Senate. I think the odds are very against it. Now, I have hope it could. I have hope that there is some way a push that maybe happens and Trump surprises us all by getting it through. So I'm not saying 100%. It's not going to happen. I will say that if you're betting on it, unless you get really good odds, you need to, the Senate's going to fight tooth and nail. But what Trump's doing is he's upping the pressure on them, and they might go down with the ship, just like Iran, because, they're all controlled. So they might go down with the ship. That might be their, what they're told to do. But then there will be major consequences for them. Do I believe there won't be a midterm? No, I believe there will be a midterm. I never was on there won't be a midterm train. I've never believed that. Let's see. Jewish company. You mean Daily Wire? Candace did work for Daily Wire. Sabbatic says, if Candace is Catholic, she should be against all forms of prostitution, but she defends the Tates. I know. It doesn't make sense. It is crazy. I agree. Well, Johnny, here's the thing with the parliamentarian. Parliamentarian doesn't actually have power. They don't have to listen to her, but they choose to. And so they still could push it through if they wanted to, But, all right, guys. Well, listen, I'm not seeing much come in, and I've gone over 3 hours already. So glad to be back. Happy Monday, guys. I will definitely be back tomorrow at 12. Keep an eye out. And it's good to be back. You guys are the best. I know I made some people mad today. Sorry. We're all friends, I hope. We can disagree, and we can have our good fights, and hopefully we can still make up afterwards. But any chance they dump Thune? Not before the midterms. No, not before the midterms. Diane says, enjoy your content, truth you share, how you do the research, could you cover, want to save USA, freedom, faith, family. Amen. That is what I want to do. Absolutely. Thank you, Diane. Michael David, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you. Candace might not be Catholic, but she claims to be. So thank you, Dan. MFN says, Save America is another exposure op. I agree, but it can be both. I think it's exposure op plus it's something that they really could pass and change things. But Trump already said that if we do this, and they don't pass it, we have other ways. He's already said that. So, okay. Yeah. Families do fight. That's right. Sabbatic. That's what makes us all friends, right? That when you learn, when you're in the, I'm sorry, what am I trying to say here? In restaurants, in businesses, did you know that when you mess up an order or something, but then you fix it, you end up making the customer more loyal to you than if they didn't have problems in the first place. Well, it's the same with friends. When friends fight, when they have arguments, when they disagree, and they work through it and come out on the other side, they're more loyal than they were if they'd never had a fight in the first place. So why do you think I love to piss you guys off? Why do you think I love to offend you? Because it makes the real ones stay. And then we become better friends in the long run. I'm quietly cooking the country. Cooking the country? I like that. See, everybody, we're all still friends. See? Brent says, with respect to what time do we say screw foreign affairs and clean in-house affairs? Well, Brent, I would say never. And this is why, because a lot of the foreign affairs Trump is doing are going to fix a lot of our affairs here. See, they're connected. They're not separate. And that's why I don't think, so David says, remember, I'm always sarcastic. Okay. I'm going to remember that from now on. The experience argument's weak. I do think it could be weak. I do. Some of the most experienced are the worst people. I agree with that. Okay. All right, guys, let's pray and get out of here. Call it a day. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. God bless everybody watching. Thank you, Lord, for this amazing community that you've blessed me to be a part of, that is built here, God, and in the membership and everywhere. I just get to be a part of it. Thank you for that, Lord. They're amazing people for the most part, almost all of them. And but I do really love this experience of just getting to interact with these people, and I'm very blessed that they spend time with me on an almost daily basis. So bless each one of them, Lord, and thank you for them. Father, we pray for our president, for wisdom, protection, and courage in every situation he faces. Protect him and all with him, Lord, all fighting with him. We pray that exposure continues to happen, that it accelerates, and justice comes as a result of it. We pray for that.